Welcome to the pattern no one questioned by the Glitch Bureau. This book covers a behavioral pattern used as a concealment mechanism for murder within a controlled gathering. Chapter 1, The Harrington. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling paused at the threshold of the Harrington estate, taking in the opulence that lay before him. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the grand ballroom, where society's elite mingled in a swirl of silk and whispered conversations. Yet, beneath the polished surface, Sterling sensed a tension that belied the evening's elegance. As he moved through the crowd, his keen eyes observed more than just the glittering jewels and tailored suits. The Harrington family, hosts of the evening, exuded an enigmatic presence, their wealth and influence palpable, yet shadowed by an air of mystery. Sterling noted their interactions, subtle nods and fleeting glances that hinted at unspoken alliances. The detective's attention was drawn to a corner of the room where two guests engaged in a hushed dialogue. Their furtive glances around the room suggested a conversation not meant for public ears. Sterling's curiosity was piqued. These were the moments he lived for, the whispers that often led to revelations. As the orchestra began a haunting waltz, the atmosphere shifted. Sterling's instincts told him that the evening's true drama was yet to unfold. He observed a guest's sudden change in demeanor, a nervous edge that seemed incongruent with the celebration around them. It was a puzzle, and Sterling was determined to piece it together. In this world where appearances were everything, Sterling knew that the most dangerous secrets often wore the most benign masks. The Harrington Gala was more than a social event. It was the prologue to a mystery that promised to challenge even his formidable skills. The night air was crisp as Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling leaned back in the plush leather seat of his car, watching the Harrington estate draw closer. The sprawling mansion loomed large against the night sky, its towering columns and ornate architecture a testament to a lineage steeped in old money and influence. As the vehicle rolled to a stop at the grand entrance, Sterling took a moment to absorb the scene before him. The estate was aglow with lights, casting a warm yet foreboding aura over the evening's gala. As Sterling stepped out of the car, the head butler, Mr. Grayson, approached with a demeanor as polished as the estate itself. "Detective Sterling," Grayson greeted, his voice smooth yet carrying an undercurrent of formality. "Welcome to the Harrington Gala. If you'll follow me, please." Sterling nodded, his eyes scanning the facade of the mansion. The grandeur of the estate was undeniable. Yet Sterling couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a symbol of opulence. It was a stage set for secrets and deception. As he followed Grayson through the grand foyer, the detective's senses were on high alert. The soft strains of a string quartet filled the air, mingling with the gentle hum of conversation and laughter that reverberated through the marble halls. The gala was in full swing, and Sterling found himself amidst a sea of elegantly dressed guests, each one a member of high society. Their poised expressions and refined manners masked any underlying tensions, yet Sterling could sense the subtle currents of unease that rippled beneath the surface. He observed Lady Harrington, the matriarch of the family, moving through the crowd with an air of command. Her presence was commanding, her eyes sharp and inscrutable as she acknowledged Sterling with a polite nod. As he navigated the throng, Sterling's keen eye for detail picked up on the nuances of the evening. He overheard snippets of conversation, innocuous on the surface, yet laden with subtext. A whispered exchange between two guests hinted at a recent scandal involving the Harringtons, a piece of information Sterling filed away for later consideration. The detective's attention was drawn to the Harrington family, who stood as the focal point of the evening. Their interactions with the guests were cordial, yet there was an underlying tension, a sense of performance that Sterling couldn't ignore. He watched as they moved through the room, their smiles never quite reaching their eyes, their laughter tinged with something unspoken. As the evening progressed, Sterling's instincts told him that beneath the glamour lay a web of secrets waiting to be unraveled. The guests, with their practiced smiles and measured words, formed a tapestry of intrigue that Sterling was determined to understand. He knew that the estate held more than just its physical grandeur. It was a stage for deception and mystery. Stepping onto the terrace, Sterling took a moment to reflect on the evening's events. The cool night air was a welcome contrast to the warmth of the ballroom, and the distant sound of laughter drifted through the open doors. Sterling knew the night was far from over, and that the estate held more than just its physical grandeur. It was a stage set for deception and mystery. The gala, with its glittering facade, was a controlled gathering meticulously orchestrated by its hosts, the Harringtons. Yet beneath the veneer of elegance and sophistication, a sinister pattern was about to unfold, a pattern no one would question until it was too late. Sterling, renowned for his keen observation and unparalleled deductive skills, found himself amidst the glittering throng, his presence a silent testament to the undercurrents of unease that rippled beneath the surface. The guests indulged in champagne and laughter, oblivious to the shadow of danger lurking in their midst. The grand ballroom, with its crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, became a stage for a deadly game, a game where the players were unaware of their roles. It was during the crescendo of the evening, as the orchestra played a haunting waltz, that the first signs of the pattern emerged. A whispered conversation overheard by Sterling, a subtle shift in the demeanor of a guest, a fleeting glance exchanged between two seemingly unrelated individuals, each a piece of a puzzle that was yet to reveal its dark picture. As Sterling continued to observe, he noticed the Harrington family members themselves, their interactions with the guests marked by a cordiality that seemed rehearsed. There was an air of performance about them, a sense that each gesture and word was carefully calculated. Sterling's instincts told him that beneath their polished exteriors lay a complex web of relationships and secrets. Imagine you're at such an event, surrounded by the crème de la crème of society, where every glance and gesture carries weight. Experience indicates that in such settings, appearances can be deceiving, and the most dangerous secrets are often hidden in plain sight. Sterling's task was to peel back the layers of this social veneer and uncover the truths concealed beneath. As the night wore on, Sterling's attention was drawn to a whispered conversation between two guests, their words hinting at a recent scandal involving the Harringtons. He knew that such information could be crucial later, and he made a mental note to investigate further. The detective's instincts were sharp, honed by years of experience, and he trusted them implicitly. The guests were unaware of Sterling's scrutiny, their focus on the festivities at hand. Yet Sterling observed the subtle shifts in their demeanor, the fleeting glances exchanged, the whispered conversations that carried more weight than their surface words suggested. He knew that these were the threads he needed to follow, the clues that would lead him to the heart of the mystery. The evening continued, the music and laughter providing a backdrop to the unfolding drama. Sterling's senses were heightened, his mind working to piece together the fragments of information he had gathered. He knew that the Harrington estate was more than just a venue for a social gathering. It was a stage set for a complex interplay of deception and intrigue. As the evening drew to a close, Sterling found himself once again on the terrace, the cool night air a welcome respite from the warmth of the ballroom. He knew that the night was far from over, and that the estate held more than just its physical grandeur. It was a stage set for deception and mystery. The guests, with their practiced smiles and measured words, formed a tapestry of intrigue that Sterling was determined to unravel. The subchapter concludes with Sterling stepping onto the terrace, taking a moment to reflect on the evening's events. The night air is cool, and the distant sound of laughter drifts from the ballroom. Sterling knows the night is far from over, and that the estate holds more than just its physical grandeur. It is a stage set for deception and mystery. He is determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the opulent walls of the Harrington estate, knowing that the answers lie in the intricate dance of deception that has unfolded before him. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stepped further into the heart of the opulent Harrington estate, his senses finely attuned to the subtle shifts in the atmosphere of the gala. The grandeur of the setting, with its glittering chandeliers and the soft hum of classical music, created a backdrop of elegance that contrasted sharply with the tension Sterling perceived beneath the surface. This evening was more than just a social gathering. It was a stage set for intrigue. As Sterling moved through the crowd, his eyes were drawn to the intricate dance of social interactions. The guests formed small clusters, their conversations laced with an undercurrent of guardedness. The Harrington family, the evening's hosts, commanded attention with their enigmatic presence, their smiles never quite reaching their eyes. Sterling sensed an unspoken hierarchy among the attendees, with alliances and rivalries simmering beneath the polite facade. He was particularly struck by the whispered exchange between two elegantly dressed guests. Sterling discreetly positioned himself to overhear snippets of their conversation, which hinted at a shared secret or a past indiscretion. The words were cryptic, but the urgency in their hushed tones suggested something significant. Sterling made a mental note of the guests involved, recognizing that this could be a thread worth unraveling. As he continued his observations, Sterling noticed a pattern emerging in the behavior of certain guests. A particular guest, who initially appeared relaxed, now exhibited signs of anxiety, nervous glances, a tightening grip on their champagne flute. Another guest, seemingly confident, avoided eye contact with the Harringtons, as if harboring a grievance or fear. These behavioral nuances piqued Sterling's curiosity, suggesting that not all was as it seemed. Sterling's interactions with the guests were carefully measured, his questions innocuous yet probing. He engaged in light conversation, subtly steering discussions toward the Harringtons and the gala's history. Each response was carefully catalogued in Sterling's mind, building a tapestry of connections and potential motives. The detective's intuition told him that the key to the evening's mystery lay in these interactions. The subchapter culminated in a moment of realization for Sterling. As he reflected on his observations, the pieces began to align, revealing a pattern of behavior that suggested a deliberate concealment of truth among the guests. This revelation set the stage for the subsequent events of the gala, where the tension would reach a breaking point. This subchapter is essential in establishing the atmosphere of intrigue and suspicion that permeates the Harrington Gala. It highlights Sterling's keen observational skills and his ability to read the subtle cues in human behavior, laying the groundwork for the mystery that will unfold. The emotional journey is one of growing tension and anticipation, as readers are drawn into the web of secrets that Sterling is beginning to unravel. As the evening progressed, Sterling overheard a cryptic exchange between two guests that seemed to be more than idle gossip. The sudden shift in a guest's demeanor raised his suspicions further. A nervous glance, a hushed whisper, these were the breadcrumbs leading to a deeper truth. Sterling began to piece together a behavioral pattern that seemed to conceal something sinister. The gala reached its peak with a haunting waltz, during which a prominent guest was found dead. The initial chaos was quickly subdued, the guests ushered into an adjacent room under the guise of maintaining decorum. Yet, within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed, one that sought to conceal the truth behind a facade of normalcy. Detective Sterling, with his astute mind and unerring intuition, began to unravel the threads of the conspiracy. The behavioral pattern, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering, was his only clue. It was a pattern that preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it, a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. As the investigation unfolded, secrets long buried began to surface, alliances were tested, and the true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare. In a world where appearances were everything, and deception was an art form, Detective Sterling had to navigate a labyrinth of lies to uncover the truth. The pattern no one questioned, a golden age detective mystery, invites mystery and thriller fans into a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. As the narrative weaves through the intricate dance of deception, readers will find themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that resides within the human soul. As Sterling discreetly started his investigation, questioning guests and staff, he encountered resistance and evasive answers, which only strengthened his resolve. A pattern of behavior emerged among the guests, hinting at a conspiracy. Sterling uncovered hidden relationships and alliances within the gala attendees. Discovering a past scandal involving the Harringtons, that could be linked to the murder. The pattern of concealment became clearer, revealing a web of deceit. Sterling connected the dots, identifying key players in the conspiracy. He confronted a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information, fully exposing the pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism. As he gathered the suspects, presenting his findings in the behavioral pattern, tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed. The Harringtons' facade crumbled, exposing their role in the cover-up. The murderer was apprehended, and justice was served. Sterling reflected on the case, understanding the depths of human deception. The Harrington estate returned to normal, but the scars of the night's events lingered. In conclusion, observing the guests is a pivotal chapter that sets the tone for the mystery and intrigue that permeates the story. Sterling's keen observations and intuitive understanding of human behavior are central to unraveling the complex web of secrets and lies at the heart of the Harrington Gala. Readers are drawn into a world where appearances can be deceiving, and the truth is often hidden in the most unexpected places. This chapter lays the groundwork for a thrilling narrative that keeps readers on the edge of their seats, eager to uncover the next twist in the tale. The Harrington estate, with its sprawling gardens and formidable architecture, stood as a testament to both wealth and secrecy. The annual gala, a highlight of the social calendar, was in full swing. As the evening unfolded, the grand ballroom became a spectacle of opulence, a sea of elegant gowns and tailored suits, where laughter mingled with the gentle clinking of champagne flutes. Yet amidst the revelry, a whispered secret began to weave its way through the crowd, unnoticed by most, but not by Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling. Picture this, a room filled with the elite, where every glance and gesture was a calculated move in the social chess game. Sterling, known for his sharp eye and quiet demeanor, was a silent observer in this glittering throng. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that only comes when something significant is about to unfold. As the orchestra played a haunting waltz, Sterling's attention was drawn to a conversation, barely audible over the music, yet potent enough to pique his curiosity. In the dim light of the ballroom, Sterling noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. A whispered exchange between two guests caught his ear, an exchange that seemed innocuous yet carried an undertone of urgency. The detective's instincts, honed over years of unraveling complex cases, told him that this was no ordinary conversation. It was the first thread in a tapestry of deception that would soon reveal itself. As the night progressed, Sterling's mind was a flurry of observations and deductions. He watched as a guest, previously animated and sociable, retreated into a shell of silence. Their demeanor shifted so dramatically that it was impossible to ignore. Sterling knew that in a gathering like this, where appearances were everything, such a change was significant. It was another piece of the puzzle, another clue in the pattern that was beginning to take shape. The crescendo of the evening was marked by a sudden, shocking event. A prominent guest, a man whose influence extended beyond the confines of the gala, was found dead. The initial chaos was palpable, a ripple of disbelief that spread through the crowd. Yet the Harringtons, with their practiced grace, quickly restored order. The incident was masked as an unfortunate accident, a narrative that was all too easy to accept amidst the glamour and sophistication of the evening. But Sterling was not convinced. His instincts, sharpened by years of experience, told him that this was no ordinary death. The whispers, the shifts in behavior, the sudden demise, it all pointed to a deeper, more sinister truth. As the guests were ushered into an adjacent room, Sterling began his investigation, his mind already working through the possibilities. The detective's approach was methodical and discreet. He moved through the crowd, engaging in conversations that seemed casual but were laden with purpose. Each interaction was an opportunity to gather information, to piece together the behavioral pattern that he believed was the key to the mystery. Sterling encountered resistance, evasive answers that only served to strengthen his resolve. It was clear that there was a conspiracy at play, one that relied on the very nature of human interaction to conceal its intent. As Sterling delved deeper, secrets long buried began to surface. He uncovered hidden relationships, alliances that were not immediately apparent but crucial to understanding the events of the night. A past scandal involving the Harringtons came to light, a scandal that could be linked to the murder. The pattern of concealment, once elusive, began to reveal itself in stark clarity. In the midst of this intricate dance of deception, Sterling found himself at a pivotal moment. He had identified key players in the conspiracy, individuals whose actions and connections formed the backbone of the pattern. Confronting one such guest, Sterling skillfully navigated the conversation, extracting crucial information that confirmed his suspicions. The pattern, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering, was fully exposed. With the pieces of the puzzle in place, Sterling gathered the suspects. The tension in the room was palpable as he presented his findings, laying bare the behavioral pattern that had been used as a murder mechanism. Accusations flew, tempers flared, and the true murderer was revealed. The Harringtons' carefully constructed facade crumbled. Exposing their role in the cover-up, the resolution was swift and decisive. The murderer was apprehended, and justice was served. Yet as Sterling reflected on the case, he understood the depths of human deception. The Harrington estate, once a symbol of elegance and power, returned to its usual grandeur, but the scars of the night's events lingered, a reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul. In the end, the pattern no one questioned is a story of intrigue and revelation, a testament to the complexity of human behavior and the lengths to which people will go to protect their secrets. As readers journey through this golden age detective mystery, they are invited to question everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the hidden truths that lie beneath the surface of even the most sophisticated facades. Chapter 2, The First Clue. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate shimmered with opulence, the soft glow of chandeliers casting a golden hue over the elegantly dressed guests. As Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling navigated through the crowd, his attention was captured by a conversation that seemed innocent at first glance. Two guests, their voices barely a whisper above the orchestral strains, exchanged words that tingled with hidden meanings. Sterling's instincts sharpened. A subtle shift in one guest's demeanor, a fleeting stiffening of the shoulders, a too-quick glance around the room, suggested more than casual discourse. To the untrained eye, it was merely a social exchange. To Sterling, it was the first clue in a tapestry of deceit. Understanding this concept of behavioral cues is crucial. Think of it this way. Just as a seasoned chess player anticipates moves several steps ahead, Sterling began to see the unfolding pattern. Each gesture, each pause in conversation, was a piece of a larger puzzle. The advantages include recognizing the unseen connections between seemingly unrelated actions. Analysis reveals that these subtle signals often convey more than words. A key factor is the ability to interpret these signs, a skill Sterling had honed over years of experience. As he observed, the evening's facade of elegance began to crack, hinting at a sinister undercurrent. With each passing moment, Sterling's suspicions grew, laying the groundwork for the mystery that would soon unravel. The first clue had been uncovered, a whisper in the dark that promised revelations yet to come. In the world of high society, where appearances are everything, the truth was a shadow lurking just beneath the surface. The opulent drawing room of the Harrington estate was a spectacle of elegance, its grandeur enhanced by the soft glow of crystal chandeliers casting intricate patterns on the polished marble floors. The annual Harrington Gala was in full swing, a magnetic event that pulled in the elite, each guest a shimmering piece in a glittering mosaic of society's upper echelon. Yet, beneath this facade of sophistication, a cryptic exchange was set to unravel the very fabric of this esteemed gathering. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, with his sharp eyes and even sharper intellect, moved through the crowd like a shadow, his presence unnoticed, yet profoundly felt. He was a man accustomed to the subtleties of human behavior, and tonight his instincts were on high alert. The Harringtons, a family shrouded in secrecy, had orchestrated this gala with meticulous precision, yet Sterling sensed an undercurrent of unease that belied the evening's apparent tranquility. As the orchestra played a haunting waltz, Sterling's attention was drawn to a whispered conversation between two guests, their words carried to him on the soft currents of the evening air. The exchange was brief, their voices low, yet the intensity of their interaction was unmistakable. It was a moment that seemed innocuous to the untrained eye, yet to Sterling, it was a thread begging to be pulled. The detective's keen observation skills were legendary, and as he discreetly watched the guests, he noticed a subtle shift in the demeanor of one of the participants in the conversation. The man, previously animated, now carried a tautness in his posture, a tightness around his eyes that spoke of hidden tensions. Sterling knew this was a clue, a piece of the puzzle that fit into a larger, more sinister picture. As the evening progressed, Sterling began to piece together a behavioral pattern that seemed to weave through the gathering like an invisible thread. It was a pattern of concealment, cleverly designed to mask the true intentions of its orchestrators. The guests, unaware of their roles in this deadly game, moved through the night with an elegance that belied the danger lurking in their midst. The crescendo of the evening arrived with the waltz, its haunting melody filling the grand ballroom. It was during this moment of heightened emotion that the unthinkable occurred. A prominent guest, a man of influence and power, was found dead, his demise cloaked in mystery and deceit. The initial chaos was swiftly subdued, the Harringtons moving with practiced ease to restore order, their facade of normalcy unbroken. Yet, within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed. Sterling, with his unerring intuition, knew this was no ordinary death. The behavioral pattern he had observed was his only clue, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering that it preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. With the investigation underway, Sterling began to unravel the threads of the conspiracy. Secrets long buried began to surface, and alliances were tested as the true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare. The detective's methodical approach, combined with his ability to read the nuances of human behavior, allowed him to navigate the labyrinth of lies and deception that surrounded the case. As Sterling delved deeper into the investigation, he encountered resistance and evasive answers from the guests and staff. Yet his resolve only strengthened, his determination to uncover the truth unwavering. The pattern of behavior among the guests hinted at a conspiracy, a web of deceit that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. Through careful questioning and astute observation, Sterling uncovered hidden relationships and alliances within the gala attendees. He discovered a past scandal involving the Harringtons, a scandal that could be linked to the murder. The pattern of concealment became clearer, revealing a web of deceit that had been meticulously crafted to shield the guilty from scrutiny. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Sterling connected the dots, identifying key players in the conspiracy. He confronted a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information, a revelation that exposed the pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism. The detective's steady hand and unyielding pursuit of justice brought the truth to light, unraveling the mystery that had shrouded the gala in darkness. The confrontation that followed was a dramatic climax to the evening's events. Sterling gathered the suspects, presenting his findings and the behavioral pattern that had been used to conceal the murder. Tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed, their carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of the detective's evidence. With the murderer apprehended and justice served, the Harrington estate returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the scars of the night's events lingered, a reminder of the darkness that resides within the human soul. Sterling, reflecting on the case, understood the depths of human deception. His insights into the nature of trust and loyalty deepened by the experience. The Harrington Gala, once a symbol of elegance and sophistication, had been exposed as a stage for a deadly game, a game where the players were unaware of their roles until it was too late. As the narrative of the pattern no one questioned unfolds, readers are invited into a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. This chapter, Cryptic Exchange, serves as a testament to the power of observation and the unyielding pursuit of truth. Through Sterling's eyes, we see the intricate dance of deception that defines the world of the Harringtons, a world where appearances are everything, and the truth is a rare and precious commodity. As the story concludes, readers are left to ponder the nature of human interaction, the assumptions we make, and the patterns we fail to question. In a world where deception is an art form, the ability to see beyond the surface is a skill that can mean the difference between life and death. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling's journey is a reminder that in the dance of deception, the keen observer is the one who holds the power to uncover the truth. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the Harrington Gala's opulent ballroom, a silent sentinel amidst the swirl of elegance and sophistication. The room was alive with the glitter of diamonds and the rustle of silk, the air heavy with the mingling scents of expensive perfumes. It was an evening designed to dazzle and distract, yet Sterling's focus was unyielding, his eyes sharp as they scanned the crowd for any signs of discord. His attention was drawn to a pair of guests near the grand piano, their conversation seemingly innocuous yet tinged with an undercurrent that piqued his curiosity. The man, a wealthy industrialist known for his ruthless business acumen, exuded a charm that was almost tangible. Beside him stood a woman, a socialite with a reputation for her sharp wit and discerning eye. Their exchange was quiet, their words cloaked in the kind of secrecy that only those with something to hide could master. As Sterling edged closer, he caught fragments of their conversation, each word dripping with hidden meanings. The woman's eyes darted around the room, a flicker of unease betraying her otherwise composed demeanor. The industrialist's demeanor, however, was what truly caught Sterling's attention. For a brief moment, his jovial facade slipped, revealing a flash of something darker, an emotion that was gone as quickly as it appeared, but not before it registered in Sterling's mind as a crucial clue. This was no ordinary social interaction. Sterling's instincts, honed by years of experience, told him that this fleeting change in demeanor was significant. It was a thread in the intricate tapestry of deceit that cloaked the evening, a clue that could unravel the mystery lurking beneath the gala's glittering surface. The detective's mind raced, connecting this moment to the subtle cues he had observed throughout the night. The whispered conversation, the furtive glances, the sudden shift in demeanor, they all pointed to a larger pattern, a behavioral mechanism designed to conceal something sinister. Sterling's suspicions grew, and he felt the weight of the mystery pressing down on him, urging him to unravel the truth. As the gala continued, Sterling remained a silent observer, his presence unnoticed by those around him. He watched as the woman, her composure regained, glided through the crowd with practiced ease, her laughter ringing hollow in his ears. The industrialist, too, resumed his role as the charming host, but Sterling saw the tension lurking beneath his polished exterior. This change in demeanor was a pivotal moment in the narrative, seamlessly bridging the initial suspicions of the first clue with the unfolding investigation. It highlighted Sterling's analytical prowess and set the tone for the challenges he would face as he delved deeper into the enigma surrounding the Harrington Gala. The subchapter maintained the storytelling tone, ensuring a smooth transition into the subsequent events, where the true depth of the conspiracy would begin to emerge. Sterling's observations were not just about the individuals, but about the dynamics at play within the room. The gala, with its layers of social interactions and veiled intentions, was a microcosm of human behavior, a stage where the players were unaware of their roles in a larger narrative. It was this understanding of human nature, of the subtle shifts in demeanor and the unspoken language of the body, that gave Sterling an edge in his investigations. He recalled a similar case from years past, a real example, where a seemingly innocuous change in demeanor had led him to unravel a complex web of deceit. In that case, a nervous glance had been the key to uncovering a conspiracy that had gone unnoticed by everyone else. Sterling had learned to trust his instincts, to pay attention to the details that others might overlook. It was this ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the motivations and fears that drove people, that made him a formidable detective. As the evening wore on, Sterling's mind continued to piece together the puzzle. He noted the alliances forming within the crowd, the subtle shifts in conversation as guests moved from one group to another. Each interaction was a potential clue, each change in demeanor a possible lead. He knew that the answers he sought lay not just in the words spoken, but in the silences between them, in the glances exchanged and the tension that simmered beneath the surface. The Harrington Gala was a controlled gathering, meticulously orchestrated by its hosts, the Harringtons, a family whose influence and wealth were rivaled only by their penchant for secrecy. Yet beneath the veneer of elegance and sophistication, a sinister pattern was unfolding, a pattern no one would question until it was too late. Detective Sterling's role was clear: to navigate this labyrinth of lies and deception, to uncover the truth hidden in plain sight. The change in demeanor he had observed was just the beginning, a signpost on the road to revelation. He would follow the clues wherever they led, determined to bring the truth to light no matter the cost. As the orchestra played on, filling the ballroom with a haunting waltz, Sterling remained vigilant, his mind a whirlwind of possibilities and suspicions. The night was far from over, and the mystery of the Harrington Gala was only beginning to unfold. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a symphony of opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the polished marble floors, while velvet drapes framed the tall windows, giving the room an air of timeless elegance. The guests, a tapestry of society's elite, moved gracefully to the rhythm of a haunting waltz. Yet, beneath this veneer of sophistication, Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling sensed an undercurrent of tension, a pattern only he seemed to perceive. As the evening unfolded, Sterling's keen eye caught the subtle signs of unease: a whispered conversation between two guests, a fleeting exchange that seemed innocuous to others, pricked his curiosity. The words were indistinct, but the urgency in their hushed tones was unmistakable. Sterling knew from experience that such whispers often concealed truths that were meant to remain hidden. Experience shows that the most telling clues are often found in the smallest details. As Sterling navigated the crowd, he noted a peculiar shift in the demeanor of a prominent guest. This individual, usually the epitome of charm and poise, appeared distracted, their eyes darting nervously around the room. Sterling's instincts, honed from years of unraveling the most intricate mysteries, told him that this was no ordinary gala. Building on this, he began to piece together a behavioral pattern, an intricate dance of deception that seemed to bind the guests in an unspoken conspiracy. The Harringtons, with their enigmatic aura and penchant for secrecy, were at the heart of this web. Their influence was palpable, their control over the proceedings absolute. Yet, Sterling sensed that this control was a facade, a carefully constructed illusion designed to mask a more sinister reality. The deciding factor in any investigation is often the ability to see beyond the obvious. Sterling's mind, a finely tuned instrument of deduction, began to connect the dots. The whispered conversation, the shift in demeanor, the orchestrated elegance of the gala, all were pieces of a puzzle that hinted at a darker truth. He knew that the pattern he was uncovering was not merely a social construct, but a mechanism of concealment, a strategy employed to cloak a deadly intent. As the orchestra played on, the atmosphere in the ballroom grew increasingly charged. The waltz reached its crescendo, and at that very moment, the illusion shattered. A prominent guest, a man whose influence extended far beyond the confines of the gala, was found dead. The shock of the discovery rippled through the crowd, but the Harringtons, with their characteristic composure, quickly restored order. The incident was masked as an unfortunate accident, yet Sterling's instincts screamed otherwise. Generally speaking, chaos is the enemy of clarity, but Sterling thrived in such environments. He discreetly began his investigation, questioning guests and staff with a quiet resolve that belied the intensity of his purpose. He encountered resistance, evasive answers that only served to strengthen his resolve. The pattern of behavior he had observed earlier now took on a more sinister hue, hinting at a conspiracy that ran deeper than he had initially suspected. Take the example of a seemingly innocuous conversation he overheard between two guests. On the surface, it was a casual exchange, but Sterling noted the subtle emphasis on certain words, the way the speakers glanced around to ensure they were not overheard. It was a classic tactic of misdirection, a way to convey hidden meanings without drawing attention. This, Sterling realized, was a key component of the pattern, a pattern designed to exploit the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. As the investigation progressed, Sterling uncovered secrets long buried beneath the polished veneer of the gala. He discovered hidden relationships and alliances, connections that hinted at a past scandal involving the Harringtons. This scandal, he surmised, was the catalyst for the events unfolding before him. The pattern of concealment became clearer, revealing a web of deceit that had been woven with meticulous care. The true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare, a tapestry of deception where appearances were everything and reality was an illusion. Sterling's ability to navigate this labyrinth of lies was his greatest asset, a skill that allowed him to see through the charade and uncover the truth. He connected the dots, identifying key players in the conspiracy and confronting a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information. The pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism was fully exposed, a chilling testament to the lengths to which some would go to protect their secrets. Sterling gathered the suspects, presenting his findings with a calm authority that demanded attention. Tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed, their carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of Sterling's evidence. The Harringtons, once the epitome of elegance and control, found their reputation in tatters, their role in the cover-up exposed for all to see. The murderer was apprehended, justice served in a manner befitting the gravity of the crime. Yet, as the dust settled, Sterling reflected on the case, understanding that the scars of the night's events would linger long after the gala had ended. This provides good results for those who seek to understand the complexities of human deception. In a world where appearances can be deceiving and trust is a fragile commodity, Sterling's journey serves as a reminder that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, will always find a way to surface. The Harrington estate returned to normal, but the lessons learned from the pattern no one questioned would endure, a testament to the darkness that resides within the human soul. Chapter 3, The Murder. The haunting notes of the waltz echoed through the grand ballroom, a melody that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of the night. As the dancers twirled under the opulent chandeliers, a sudden gasp sliced through the music. A prominent guest lay motionless on the polished floor. The room froze, a collective intake of breath as realization dawned. The Harringtons, masters of maintaining their poised facade, quickly moved to quell the rising panic, insisting it was a mere accident, a tragic misstep in an otherwise perfect evening. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, however, was not so easily swayed. His instincts, honed over years of navigating the murky waters of human deceit, whispered that this was no ordinary death. As the guests were ushered into an adjacent room with promises of champagne and calm, Sterling's mind raced, piecing together the subtle clues that had nagged at him throughout the evening. Think of it this way. The gala was a stage, each guest a player in a carefully orchestrated performance. The Harringtons' swift restoration of order was not just about maintaining decorum. It was about preserving the carefully constructed illusion of their world. Sterling knew that beneath this polished surface lay a pattern no one questioned because it was so cleverly concealed within the dance of social niceties. More importantly, Sterling understood that to uncover the truth, he needed to look beyond the obvious. The benefits of his keen observation were clear. Every whispered conversation, every furtive glance was a piece of the puzzle. And in most cases, it was these overlooked details that held the key to unraveling the mystery. Determined, he resolved to dig deeper, to expose the deception lurking beneath the layers of elegance and charm. The Harrington estate, with its sprawling gardens and grand architecture, was a place where opulence met mystery. On this particular evening, the annual Harrington Gala was in full swing, a dazzling affair that promised elegance and sophistication. Yet beneath the glittering surface, a sinister dance was about to unfold, a dance that would be remembered as the Waltz of Death. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, renowned for his sharp mind and keen eye for detail, found himself amidst the elite of society. The gala was a tableau of wealth and influence, where every smile and gesture held a deeper meaning. As the orchestra played a haunting waltz, the guests moved gracefully across the ballroom, unaware of the deadly pattern weaving through their midst. The evening began with the usual pleasantries, champagne flutes clinking, and laughter echoing under the crystal chandeliers. Yet Sterling's instincts told him that something was amiss. He observed the room with the precision of a chess master, noting the subtle tensions and whispered conversations that danced just beneath the surface. Experience indicates that in such gatherings, the most dangerous secrets are often hidden in plain sight. Sterling's attention was drawn to a whispered conversation between two guests, their eyes flickering with a hint of conspiracy. It was a fleeting moment, but one that piqued his curiosity. Along the same lines, he noticed a sudden shift in the demeanor of a prominent guest, a man whose influence was as vast as his wealth. The pieces of a puzzle were beginning to form, each one hinting at a pattern that was both intricate and deadly. As the evening progressed, the tension in the room became palpable. The waltz, with its haunting melody, seemed to cast a spell over the guests, drawing them into its rhythm. It was during this crescendo that the unthinkable happened. A prominent guest was found dead, his lifeless body a stark contrast to the vibrant celebration around him. The initial chaos was quickly subdued, the Harringtons moving with practiced efficiency to maintain the facade of decorum. Yet, within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed. The death was no mere accident. Sterling was certain of it. His instincts, honed by years of unraveling the most complex of mysteries, told him that this was a murder concealed by a pattern so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering that it preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. Sterling discreetly began his investigation, questioning guests and staff with a calm demeanor that belied the urgency of the situation. He encountered resistance and evasive answers, each one strengthening his resolve to uncover the truth. It was a delicate dance of its own, navigating the labyrinth of lies and deceit that surrounded the gala. Take the example of a whispered exchange he overheard between two guests, a conversation laced with innuendo and hidden meanings. It was a clue, a thread that, when pulled, began to unravel the tightly woven tapestry of deception. Along the same lines, a fleeting glance exchanged between two seemingly unrelated individuals revealed a connection that was both unexpected and telling. The pattern of behavior among the guests began to emerge, a mechanism of concealment that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. It was a pattern that relied on the assumptions of normalcy, exploiting the blind spots of those who were caught in its web. Sterling's task was to see beyond the surface, to read between the lines and uncover the truth hidden in plain sight. As the investigation unfolded, secrets long buried began to surface. Sterling uncovered hidden relationships and alliances within the gala attendees, each one a piece of the puzzle that was slowly coming together. He discovered a past scandal involving the Harringtons, a scandal that could be linked to the murder, a motive hidden beneath layers of secrecy and deceit. The pattern of concealment became clearer, revealing a web of deceit that extended beyond the confines of the gala. It was a pattern that had been meticulously crafted, a dance of deception that had ensnared even the most astute of observers. But Sterling was undeterred, his determination to uncover the truth unwavering. Focus on the moment when Sterling connected the dots, identifying key players in the conspiracy. He confronted a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information, a slip of the tongue that exposed the intricacies of the plot. The pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism was fully exposed, a revelation that shook the very foundations of the Harrington estate. With the pattern exposed, Sterling gathered the suspects, presenting his findings with a calm authority that commanded attention. Tensions rose as accusations flew, the true murderer revealed in a dramatic confrontation that left the guests reeling. The Harringtons' carefully constructed facade crumbled, exposing their role in the cover-up and the lengths they would go to protect their secrets. The murderer was apprehended, justice served in a manner befitting the gravity of the crime. Sterling reflected on the case, understanding the depths of human deception and the lengths to which people would go to protect their secrets. The Harrington estate returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the scars of the night's events lingered, a reminder of the darkness that resides within the human soul. The pattern no one questioned, a golden age detective mystery, invites readers into a world where appearances are deceiving, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. As the narrative weaves through the intricate dance of deception, readers will find themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that resides within the human soul. The benefits are clear for those who dare to look beyond the surface, to see the truth hidden within the vaults of death. As the clock struck midnight, the Harrington Gala reached its zenith. The ballroom, a cavernous space adorned with opulent chandeliers and velvet drapes, was alive with the sound of a haunting waltz. Dancers swirled elegantly across the polished floor, their movements a symphony of grace and precision. Yet beneath this veneer of sophistication, an undercurrent of tension rippled through the air, a tension that was about to break the surface. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the dance floor, his eyes scanning the room with the practiced ease of a man accustomed to observing what others overlooked. The Harringtons, hosts of this illustrious gathering, were a family shrouded in mystery and influence. Their ability to command the attention of society's elite was rivaled only by their penchant for secrecy. Sterling had been invited under the guise of a guest, but his presence here was anything but casual. He was a man on a mission, his instincts honed to detect the slightest hint of discord. The waltz reached its crescendo, the music swelling to fill every corner of the room. It was at this moment that chaos erupted. Lord Elmsworth, a prominent figure known for his wealth and connections, collapsed in the midst of the swirling dancers. His fall was sudden, a marionette whose strings had been cut, and the ensuing silence was deafening. Gasps echoed through the hall, a collective intake of breath as the reality of the situation settled over the assembly. In the immediate aftermath, panic threatened to engulf the room. Guests clustered in confused knots, their voices rising in a cacophony of concern and disbelief. Yet amidst this chaos, the Harringtons moved with a calculated precision. Lady Harrington, her poise unshaken, signaled to the orchestra to continue playing softly, a gentle melody that seemed to soothe the frayed nerves of the attendees. It was a masterful stroke, a reminder of the power of control in the face of disorder. Sterling watched this display with a mixture of admiration and suspicion. The Harringtons had managed to impose a semblance of order on the chaos, guiding their guests back to their social facades with subtlety and grace. Yet, Sterling's instincts told him that this was no ordinary accident. The death of Lord Elmsworth felt too convenient, too perfectly timed within the confines of this controlled gathering. There was a pattern here, a mechanism of concealment that he was determined to unravel. As the night wore on, Sterling began his preliminary investigation, his approach discreet yet determined. He moved through the crowd, his questions gentle but probing. The guests, though shaken, were quick to adopt the narrative of an unfortunate accident, their rehearsed responses and evasive glances hinting at a deeper conspiracy. Sterling noted the subtle shifts in demeanor, the whispered conversations that ceased abruptly as he approached. Each interaction was a piece of a puzzle, a pattern of behavior that suggested something far more sinister at play. In the days that followed, Sterling's investigation deepened. He delved into the lives of the gala attendees, uncovering hidden relationships and alliances that painted a picture of intrigue and deception. The Harringtons, with their reputation for secrecy, were at the center of this web, their influence extending far beyond the confines of the estate. Sterling's resolve was unwavering, his determination to uncover the truth, fueled by the stark contrast between the chaos of the murder and the controlled narrative imposed by the Harringtons. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sterling sat in his study, the evidence spread before him like a tapestry of intrigue. He recalled the whispered conversations, the fleeting glances exchanged between guests, each a thread in the intricate pattern of deception. It was a pattern that preyed on assumptions, a mechanism so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering that it had gone unnoticed until now. Sterling's mind worked tirelessly, connecting the dots, identifying the key players in this deadly game. With each revelation, the pattern of concealment became clearer. Sterling discovered a past scandal involving the Harringtons, a dark chapter in their history that could be linked to the murder. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, revealing a conspiracy that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. It was a pattern that relied on the blindness of those ensnared within it, a pattern that Sterling was determined to expose. In a decisive moment, Sterling gathered the suspects in the grand drawing room of the Harrington estate. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with anticipation as Sterling presented his findings. He spoke with calm authority, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. The guests listened, their expressions a mix of disbelief and fear, as Sterling laid bare the pattern of behavior that had concealed the murder. Tensions rose as accusations flew, the facade of civility crumbling under the weight of the truth. Sterling's words were a catalyst, forcing the attendees to confront the reality of their roles in this deadly game. As the true murderer was revealed, the Harringtons' carefully constructed facade shattered, exposing their complicity in the cover-up. It was a moment of reckoning, a confrontation that laid bare the depths of human deception. In the aftermath, the murderer was apprehended, justice served in the face of overwhelming odds. Sterling reflected on the case, his understanding of human nature deepened by the experience. The Harrington estate returned to its former glory, the scars of the night's events hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy. Yet the lessons learned would linger, a reminder of the darkness that resides within the human soul. Chaos and Control is a chapter that delves into the power dynamics at play within the Harrington estate, capturing the duality of chaos and control in a world where appearances are everything. It is a narrative that invites readers to question the nature of truth and deception, to explore the intricate dance of human interaction and the patterns that conceal the darkest of secrets. As Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling navigates the treacherous waters of high society deceit, readers are drawn into a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, each facet catching the light in a cascade of brilliance. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the room, his eyes scanning the crowd with the practiced ease of a man who had spent years unraveling the darkest secrets of society's elite. The Harrington Gala was in full swing, a whirl of silk and laughter, yet Sterling detected an undercurrent of tension that belied the evening's festive facade. As the orchestra played a haunting waltz, Sterling's attention was drawn to a sudden disturbance near the center of the dance floor. A prominent guest had collapsed, his body crumpling amidst the swirling dancers. The music faltered, replaced by a collective gasp and the rustle of silk as guests recoiled in shock. The Harringtons, with their poised command, swiftly stepped in to restore order, their voices calm and reassuring as they insisted it was an unfortunate accident. Yet, Sterling's instincts told him otherwise. He observed the scene with a detective's eye, noting the subtle shifts in the guest's demeanor, the forced calmness that barely masked the tension beneath. His mind raced back to the whispered conversations and cryptic exchanges he had overheard earlier in the evening, fragments of dialogue that now seemed laden with significance. As Sterling navigated the crowd, his thoughts were a whirlwind of suspicion. He recalled the peculiar behavior of certain guests, their nervous glances, the hurried exits that, at the time, seemed innocuous. Each detail, once dismissed as trivial, now painted a picture of intrigue and deception. The detective's resolve hardened. Beneath the polished veneer of the gala lay a sinister truth waiting to be uncovered. He moved discreetly through the throng, encountering guests who offered condolences with varying degrees of sincerity. Sterling's attention was particularly drawn to the Harrington family, their expressions controlled, their interactions marked by subtle, almost imperceptible signals. It was clear to him that they were orchestrating a facade, but the purpose of their charade remained elusive. Sterling's internal monologue was a battleground of skepticism and determination. He was acutely aware of the Harringtons' influence, their ability to manipulate perceptions with a deftness that bordered on artistry. Yet he remained steadfast in his commitment to uncovering the truth. The delicate social dynamics at play required a careful balance of discretion and investigation, a challenge that Sterling was uniquely equipped to handle. The emotional tension built as Sterling grappled with the enormity of the task ahead. He understood that unraveling the truth would not only challenge the Harringtons' narrative, but also expose the intricate web of alliances and enmities that underpinned the gala's social fabric. Each interaction, each whispered exchange, was a thread in the tapestry of deception that Sterling was determined to unravel. As the evening wore on, Sterling's observations coalesced into a coherent hypothesis. He noted the pattern of behavior among the guests, the subtle cues that hinted at a conspiracy. The Harringtons, with their commanding presence, were at the center of it all, their actions suggesting a deeper involvement than mere hosts of a gala. Consider this scenario: a whispered conversation between two guests, seemingly innocuous, yet laden with hidden meaning. Sterling had overheard such an exchange earlier in the evening, a cryptic dialogue that hinted at a shared secret. Now, in the aftermath of the guests' collapse, the significance of that conversation loomed large in Sterling's mind. He recalled the nervous glances exchanged between the Harringtons and a select group of guests, their interactions marked by an unspoken understanding. It was as if they were players in a well-rehearsed performance, each aware of their role in maintaining the facade. The evidence suggested a coordinated effort to conceal the truth, a pattern of behavior that Sterling was determined to expose. What mattered most was Sterling's unwavering commitment to justice. He knew that beneath the glittering surface of the gala lay a darkness that thrived on deception and manipulation. As he pieced together the clues, Sterling's confidence grew. The outcome was reliable. He was on the right track. More importantly, Sterling's investigation was driven by a deep sense of duty. He understood that the stakes were high, that the truth would challenge the very foundations of the Harringtons' influence. Yet he was undeterred, his resolve strengthened by each new revelation. The chapter's conclusion was marked by a silent vow, a promise to uncover the truth no matter the cost. Sterling's journey from passive observer to active investigator was complete, setting the stage for the investigation that would follow. The narrative seamlessly bridged the initial shock of the murder with the unfolding investigation, drawing readers into the heart of the mystery. As Sterling departed the ballroom, his mind was a whirlwind of possibilities. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, that the Harringtons would not easily relinquish their secrets. Yet, he was undeterred, his determination unwavering. The truth was within reach, and Sterling was prepared to unravel the pattern no one had questioned, to expose the darkness that lay hidden beneath the glittering surface of the Harrington Gala. Chapter 4: The Investigation Begins. As the last notes of the waltz faded, Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling found himself amidst a sea of polished smiles and glittering jewels, each guest a potential thread in the tapestry of deceit he was determined to unravel. The Harrington Gala, with its opulent setting and carefully curated guest list, was a stage where appearances reigned supreme. Yet Sterling knew that beneath the surface a more sinister play was unfolding. The investigation began with subtlety, as Sterling navigated the delicate social fabric of the event. He approached guests with an air of casual curiosity, his questions masked by the guise of polite conversation. Yet, each interaction was a calculated move, designed to extract the truth hidden beneath layers of charm and evasion. Resistance met him at every turn. Guests offered evasive answers, their practiced smiles never faltering. The staff, trained to maintain the estate's impeccable reputation, were equally reticent. But Sterling's resolve only strengthened. Each deflection was a clue, each sidestep a confirmation that something lay beneath the surface. As he delved deeper, a pattern began to emerge. It was a subtle choreography of glances and whispers, a dance that hinted at alliances and secrets shared among the elite. Sterling's keen eye for detail noted the recurring behaviors, the unspoken agreements that seemed to bind the guests in a conspiracy that stretched beyond the gala's confines. The important thing to remember, Sterling mused, was that in a world where appearances were everything, the truth often hid in plain sight. His methodical approach, coupled with an unerring intuition, would be his guide through the labyrinth of lies. The investigation had only just begun, but already the threads of the mystery were starting to unravel. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood amidst the grandeur of the Harrington Gala, a picture of calm amidst the swirling elegance. The ballroom was a sea of shimmering gowns and tailored suits, the air filled with the soft murmur of conversation and the clinking of crystal. Yet beneath this veneer of opulence, Sterling sensed a tension, a subtle discord that belied the evening's festive facade. He began his evening's work with the hosts themselves, Lord and Lady Harrington. They were the epitome of grace and sophistication, their smiles practiced and their words measured. As Sterling approached, he noted the slight tension in Lady Harrington's jaw, the fleeting glance exchanged between the couple. It was the kind of detail that spoke volumes to a seasoned detective. "A lovely evening, isn't it?" Sterling inquired, his tone casual, his demeanor disarming. "Indeed, Inspector," Lord Harrington replied, his voice smooth. "We strive to make it memorable each year." Sterling nodded, allowing the conversation to flow naturally. "I couldn't help but notice the array of distinguished guests, quite the gathering." Lady Harrington's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Yes, we are fortunate to have such esteemed company." There it was, a hint of anxiety beneath the polished exterior. Sterling pressed gently. "I understand the late Mr. Thompson was a frequent guest, a close family friend, perhaps?" A shadow passed over Lord Harrington's face. "He was an acquaintance," he replied, his words carefully chosen. Sterling's instincts tingled. The evasive answers suggested a deeper connection, something the Harringtons were keen to obscure. He made a mental note to revisit this thread as the evening progressed. Moving through the crowd, Sterling's attention was drawn to a young socialite, Miss Evelyn Carter. Her beauty was striking, but it was the nervous energy radiating from her that piqued his interest. As he approached, she fidgeted with her champagne glass, her eyes darting around the room. "Miss Carter, enjoying the gala?" Sterling asked with a warm smile. "Oh yes, Inspector. It's quite extravagant," she replied, her voice betraying a hint of unease. He nodded, letting the conversation meander before subtly introducing the topic of the deceased. "Such a tragedy about Mr. Thompson. I understand you knew him well?" Her reaction was immediate, a sudden pallor, a stammered response. I wouldn't say well. We met a few times." Sterling observed her closely. The nervous glances, the tremor in her voice, all suggested she was concealing something significant. He would need to revisit Miss Carter under less public circumstances. Next on his list was Mr. Jonathan Blackwood, a business associate of the Harringtons. Known for his affable nature, Jonathan greeted Sterling with his usual charm. Yet, as their conversation turned to the events of the evening, a subtle defensiveness crept into his demeanor. "Jonathan, I understand you were one of the last to see Mr. Thompson alive," Sterling remarked casually. Jonathan's smile faltered. I suppose so. We spoke briefly before the incident." Sterling noted the tension in Jonathan's posture, the way his eyes shifted away. "And what did you discuss, if you don't mind me asking?" "Oh, nothing of consequence," Jonathan replied, too quickly. The detective's mind whirred. Jonathan's defensiveness was telling, a sign that the man's jovial facade might hide a more sinister involvement. Sterling would need to probe deeper into Jonathan's interactions with the victim. As the evening wore on, Sterling found himself in a quiet corner with Mr. Jameson, the head butler. Jameson was a man of few words, his loyalty to the Harrington family well known. Yet, as Sterling questioned him about the staff's activities, he detected a subtle hesitation. "The staff were all accounted for, Mr. Jameson?" Sterling asked, his voice low. "Yes, Inspector. We were all busy with our duties," Jameson replied, his gaze steady but his hands betraying a slight tremor. Sterling leaned in slightly. "And during the time of the incident?" There was a pause, a flicker of something in Jameson's eyes. "We were ensuring the guests were comfortable, as always." Sterling nodded, understanding the butler's predicament. Jameson's loyalty was torn between his duty to the Harringtons and a desire for justice. It was a delicate balance, one that Sterling would need to navigate carefully. Throughout these interactions, a pattern began to emerge in Sterling's mind. It was a pattern of loyalty and fear, a silent pact that seemed to bind the guests together. Each evasive answer, each nervous gesture, was a piece of a larger puzzle. A puzzle that hinted at a conspiracy, a collective effort to conceal the truth about the murder. Sterling's frustration grew with each interaction, yet so did his determination. The enormity of the conspiracy he was up against was daunting, but his belief in justice was unwavering. He knew that within the web of lies and deceit lay the key to unraveling the mystery. As he pieced together the behavioral patterns, Sterling realized the interconnected relationships among the guests. their shared history with the victim, the subtle cues that betrayed their involvement, all were crafted to make readers gasp as the layers of deception slowly peeled away. This chapter was essential, laying the groundwork for the unfolding mystery. It highlighted Sterling's astute perception and the psychological complexities of the characters, seamlessly bridging the investigation's beginning with the deeper exploration of the conspiracy. For mystery and thriller fans, it was a captivating journey into a world where nothing was as it seemed, and the most dangerous secrets were hidden in plain sight. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the grand ballroom, his gaze sweeping over the sea of elegantly dressed guests who mingled beneath the opulent chandeliers. The Harrington Gala, with its aura of sophistication and subtle intrigue, was the perfect setting for both celebration and deception. Sterling knew that beneath the polished veneers and polite smiles lay a network of secrets waiting to be unraveled. As the evening unfolded, Sterling discreetly observed the guests, his practiced eye catching the subtle nuances of their interactions. The clinking of champagne glasses and the soft rustle of silk gowns provided a soundtrack to the whispered conversations that piqued his interest. He noticed the furtive glances exchanged between certain individuals, the kind of looks that suggested more than mere social pleasantries. Sterling's first step was to engage in casual conversations, a tactic he had perfected over years of investigative work. He approached Lady Beatrice, a renowned socialite whose reputation for sharp wit preceded her. As they exchanged pleasantries, Sterling subtly steered the conversation towards the unfortunate demise of a prominent guest earlier that evening. Lady Beatrice, ever composed, responded with a practiced ease that belied the tension Sterling sensed beneath her polished exterior. "Such a tragic event," she remarked, her laughter a touch too forced. "But surely, Inspector, accidents do happen even at the most splendid of gatherings." Sterling noted the flicker of her gaze towards a group of guests huddled in the corner, their whispers barely audible over the music. It was a momentary lapse, but one that did not escape his attention. Lady Beatrice's deflection was a clear indication that she knew more than she was willing to share. Moving through the opulent rooms of the estate, Sterling encountered Lord James, a close associate of the Harringtons. Their exchange was cordial yet strained, with Lord James offering evasive answers to Sterling's probing questions. Despite his calm demeanor, Sterling noticed the slight tremor in Lord James's hands and the way his eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape from the conversation. "The Harringtons have always been impeccable hosts," Lord James commented, his voice steady but lacking conviction. "I'm sure this matter will be resolved swiftly, Inspector." Sterling's instincts told him otherwise. The evasive behavior of both Lady Beatrice and Lord James only strengthened his resolve to dig deeper. He knew that the truth was buried beneath layers of deception, and it was his task to peel them back. One by one, the investigation took a more intense turn as Sterling began questioning the staff. Mr. Collins, the butler, maintained a stoic facade, his responses clipped and precise. However, Sterling detected a note of hesitance in his voice when asked about the events leading up to the murder. "I assure you, Inspector, the evening was proceeding as planned," Mr. Collins stated, his eyes betraying a flicker of uncertainty. "The guests were enjoying themselves, and nothing seemed amiss." In contrast, the housemaid, Miss Eliza, was more forthcoming. Her nervousness was palpable as she recounted overhearing snippets of a heated argument earlier in the evening. Her eyes widened with fear when Sterling pressed for more details, suggesting she knew more than she dared to reveal. I heard voices, sir," she stammered, glancing around as if expecting to be overheard. "It sounded urgent, but I couldn't make out the words. I didn't want to pry." Each conversation left Sterling with more questions than answers, yet he remained undeterred. The resistance he encountered only fueled his determination to uncover the truth. The guest's evasive behavior hinted at a conspiracy that ran deeper than he initially suspected, a web of deceit intricately woven into the fabric of the evening. As the night wore on, Sterling retreated to a quiet corner of the estate, piecing together the fragmented information he had gathered. He reflected on the evening's interactions, recognizing a pattern of behavior that suggested a coordinated effort to obscure the truth. The realization that the conspiracy might extend beyond the confines of the estate only served to strengthen his resolve. In the dimly lit corner, Sterling allowed himself a moment of contemplation. The gala, with its glittering facade and hidden machinations, was a microcosm of the world he had come to know so well, a world where appearances were everything, and deception was an art form. Yet, beneath the layers of resistance and evasion, the truth awaited discovery. As he prepared to continue his investigation, Sterling knew that the path ahead would not be easy. The Harrington Gala was a stage for a deadly game, and he was determined to unravel the web of deceit that surrounded it. The pattern of behavior, so cleverly woven into the evening's events, was his only clue. It was a pattern that preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it, a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. With renewed determination, Sterling stepped back into the fray, ready to confront the challenges that lay ahead. The evening was far from over, and the truth, elusive as it was, awaited his discovery. The Harrington Gala, with its veneer of elegance and sophistication, was about to reveal its darkest secrets, and Sterling was prepared to uncover them, one layer at a time. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the grand ballroom, his eyes scanning the opulent surroundings. The Harrington Gala was in full swing, a dazzling spectacle of wealth and influence. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the elegantly dressed guests, their laughter and conversation a symphony of privilege. Yet, amidst the glittering facade, Sterling sensed an undercurrent of tension, a subtle discord that set his instincts on edge. The potential for intrigue was significant, especially in such a controlled gathering. Most people find that social events of this magnitude often serve as a breeding ground for secrets and hidden agendas. Sterling's task was to detect a conspiracy woven into the evening's fabric, a task that required both keen observation and an understanding of human behavior. As an illustration, consider the way a whispered conversation can alter the dynamics of a room. Sterling had already noted one such exchange, a hushed dialogue between two guests that seemed innocuous to the untrained ear, but hinted at deeper machinations. The important thing to remember is that in a setting where appearances are everything, even the smallest detail can be a clue. The evening wore on, and Sterling continued to observe. A sudden shift in a guest's demeanor caught his attention, a momentary flicker of fear or perhaps guilt that quickly vanished behind a practiced smile. This was a behavioral pattern he had seen before, one that suggested a concealment mechanism at play. In environments like these, where deception is an art form, such patterns are often employed to mask the truth. With this in mind, Sterling began to piece together the puzzle. The gala's attendees, a who's who of society, were unaware of the roles they played in a deadly game. The murder, when it occurred, was both shocking and inevitable. A prominent guest found dead, his demise shrouded in mystery. The initial chaos was expertly managed by the Harringtons, who swiftly restored order, their actions a testament to their experience in maintaining decorum. Sterling's instincts told him this was no ordinary death. The controlled nature of the gathering, combined with the behavioral pattern he had observed, pointed to a conspiracy. The potential for uncovering the truth lay in his ability to navigate the labyrinth of lies that surrounded the event. As the investigation began, Sterling encountered resistance. Guests and staff were evasive, their answers carefully crafted to reveal nothing. Yet, within these interactions, Sterling detected a pattern, a shared reluctance to disclose information that hinted at a collective understanding of the night's true purpose. Typically, such patterns are not immediately obvious. They require a detective's intuition and an ability to connect seemingly unrelated dots. In the case of the Harrington Gala, the pattern of concealment was cleverly woven into the social fabric, preying on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. Sterling's investigation uncovered hidden relationships and alliances among the attendees. A past scandal involving the Harringtons surfaced, providing a potential motive for the murder. The pattern of behavior became clearer, revealing a web of deceit that extended far beyond the confines of the estate. The important thing to remember is that in situations like these, appearances can be deceiving. The Harringtons, with their facade of respectability, were adept at manipulating perceptions. Yet as Sterling connected the dots, the true nature of their involvement began to emerge. He confronted a guest who, under pressure, inadvertently revealed crucial information. The pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism was fully exposed, laying bare the conspiracy that had been so carefully concealed. The potential for justice was significant, and Sterling was determined to see it served. In the final confrontation, Sterling gathered the suspects, presenting his findings with natural authority. Tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed. The Harringtons' carefully constructed facade crumbled, exposing their role in the cover-up and the lengths they had gone to maintain their influence. The resolution of the case brought a sense of closure, yet the scars of the night's events lingered. Sterling reflected on the depths of human deception, understanding that in a world where nothing is as it seems, the most dangerous secrets are often hidden in plain sight. As the Harrington estate returned to its semblance of normalcy, the lessons learned from the investigation remained. The potential for uncovering truth in the face of deception is always significant, and Sterling's unwavering dedication to justice served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and integrity in the pursuit of truth. Chapter 5: Unveiling Secrets. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the grand ballroom, his gaze sweeping over the glittering assembly of guests. The haunting waltz played by the orchestra seemed to cast a spell, binding everyone in a dance of elegance and deception. It was here, amidst the swirling gowns and polished shoes, that Sterling began to see the invisible threads connecting the attendees, a tapestry of secrets woven into the very fabric of the Harrington Gala. The first revelation came like a whisper in the dark. As Sterling moved through the room, he overheard a hushed conversation between two seemingly unrelated guests. Their words hinted at a clandestine relationship, a bond that defied the public personas they maintained. It was a subtle clue, but one that Sterling knew could unravel the larger mystery. With each new interaction, Sterling peeled back layers of pretense, uncovering alliances that had long been hidden from view. A fleeting glance exchanged across the room, a nervous laugh at an ill-timed joke. Each moment added depth to the web of deceit. The Harringtons, it seemed, were at the center of a past scandal, one that now threatened to resurface with deadly consequences. As Sterling pieced together the puzzle, the pattern of concealment became increasingly clear. The gala was not just a social event, but a carefully orchestrated charade designed to mask the truth. The detective's instincts told him that this pattern was the key to solving the murder, and he was determined to pursue it relentlessly. In this labyrinth of lies, Sterling's resolve only hardened. The secrets he uncovered were more than mere gossip. They were the threads that, once pulled, could unravel the entire conspiracy. With each revelation, the path to the truth became clearer, urging him forward in his quest for justice. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a shadow of its former self as the night wore on. The crystal chandeliers cast a softer glow, and the velvet drapes seemed to absorb the whispers that floated through the room. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, ever the observer, found this quieter atmosphere the perfect backdrop to delve deeper into the hidden relationships that bound the gala attendees. It was a setting ripe for revelations, where the masks of high society began to slip, revealing the intricate web of connections beneath. As Sterling moved through the room, his sharp eyes caught the subtle exchanges that others might overlook. A fleeting glance here, a whispered conversation there, each interaction suggested more than mere acquaintanceship. His attention was particularly drawn to Lady Evelyn, a figure of elegance and aloofness. Her demeanor was a carefully crafted facade, one that Sterling suspected hid a deeper involvement with the other guests. Approaching Lady Evelyn with the guise of a casual conversation, Sterling engaged her in a dialogue that was as much a dance of words as the waltz that had played earlier. Through their exchange, he gleaned insights into her past, uncovering a discreet yet influential liaison with the victim, a prominent businessman whose untimely death had cast a pall over the gala. This revelation was not just a personal intrigue, but hinted at motives rooted in both personal and financial stakes, adding a new dimension to Sterling's investigation As the detective continued his inquiries, he encountered Lord Harrington's estranged brother, a presence that was as unexpected as it was suspicious. The tension between the brothers was palpable, hinting at old grievances. Sterling's probing questions unearthed a bitter rivalry centered around an inheritance dispute, providing a possible link to the murder. The brothers' strained relationship with the family was a thread that Sterling knew could unravel the tightly knit tapestry of deceit surrounding the gala. With each interaction, Sterling felt the tension build, as if the very air of the ballroom was charged with the electricity of unspoken truths. His investigation led him to discover a secretive alliance between the victim and a group of investors, several of whom were guests at the gala. This alliance, now threatened by the victim's death, suggested a collective motive for murder. The business deal at the heart of this alliance was lucrative but unethical, a venture that could ruin reputations if exposed. The detective's inquiries took a dramatic turn when he uncovered a scandalous affair between two seemingly unrelated guests. This affair, known to only a select few, added another layer of complexity to the social dynamics at play. The possibility of blackmail loomed large, a scenario that could easily have escalated to murder. Sterling's mind raced with the implications, each discovery a piece of the puzzle that was slowly taking shape in his mind. Sterling's reflections on these tangled relationships were as much about human nature as they were about the specifics of the case. The potential for betrayal among the guests was a constant undercurrent, a reminder that in the world of high society, appearances were often deceiving. Each connection he uncovered was a thread in the tapestry of deceit that had ensnared the gala attendees, challenging Sterling to reconsider his assumptions and strategies. Picture this: a room filled with laughter and music, where every smile hides a secret, and every gesture is a move in a game of power and influence. In such a setting, Sterling's task was not just to solve a murder, but to navigate the complexities of human relationships, each discovery drawing him closer to the heart of the conspiracy. What's crucial here is Sterling's ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the motivations that drive people to conceal their true selves. His journey through the labyrinth of lies was not just about finding a killer, but about understanding the depths of human deception. Each revelation was a step closer to unveiling the truth, a truth that was as much about the nature of the guests as it was about the murder itself. The emotional journey in this subchapter is one of intrigue and revelation, as Sterling navigates the complexities of human relationships. The seamless integration of these revelations ensures a smooth transition into the subsequent subchapter, maintaining the narrative's momentum and the reader's engagement. As Sterling edges closer to the truth, the stakes become higher, the tension more palpable, and the mystery more compelling. In most cases, the outcome of such an investigation is reliable, but Sterling knows that in this world, nothing is ever truly as it seems. The Harrington Gala was a stage, and its attendees were actors in a play of deception and intrigue. As Sterling pieced together the hidden relationships, he was reminded of the old adage, "Trust no one." It was a lesson he had learned time and again, one that served him well as he continued his quest for justice. The subchapter concludes with Sterling reflecting on the tangled relationships and the potential for betrayal among the guests. His mind races with possibilities, each connection a thread in the tapestry of deceit that has ensnared the gala attendees. This exploration of hidden relationships not only deepens the mystery, but also challenges Sterling to reconsider his assumptions and strategies as he edges closer to unveiling the truth. As the night drew to a close, Sterling knew that the answers he sought were within reach. The hidden relationships he had uncovered were more than just a collection of secrets. They were the key to solving the murder and bringing the truth to light. In the world of the Harrington Gala, where appearances were everything, Sterling's ability to see beyond the facade was his greatest asset. The stage was set for the next act in this drama of deceit, and Sterling was ready to play his part. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, casting a warm, golden hue over the elegantly dressed guests. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the periphery, a silent observer amidst the laughter and clinking glasses. The annual Harrington Gala was in full swing, a spectacle of opulence where the elite mingled under the guise of philanthropy. Yet Sterling knew that behind the smiles and polite conversations lay an intricate web of secrets, waiting to be unraveled. As the orchestra played a haunting waltz, Sterling's attention was drawn to Lady Margaret, the matriarch of the Harrington family. Her presence commanded respect, her every gesture deliberate and measured. Observing her from across the room, Sterling noticed how her whispered exchanges with select guests seemed to carry a weight far beyond the evening's festivities. He sensed an undercurrent of tension, a hint of something long buried, yet still potent. Seizing a moment when Lady Margaret stood alone, Sterling approached her with a disarming smile. "Lady Margaret, might I have a word?" he inquired, his tone polite yet probing. Her eyes met his, a flicker of recognition and perhaps caution passing briefly across her face. "Detective Sterling, isn't it?" she replied, her voice smooth and practiced. "Of course, what can I do for you?" "I couldn't help but notice the way you hold court here," Sterling began, choosing his words carefully. "It must be quite a task managing an event of this magnitude." Lady Margaret chuckled softly, a sound that seemed to echo with hidden meanings. "One grows accustomed to it, Detective. The Harrington Gala has been a tradition for as long as I can remember." "And traditions, I find, often have stories attached to them," Sterling ventured, his gaze steady. "Stories that sometimes resurface in unexpected ways." There was a pause, a moment where the air between them seemed charged with unspoken truths. Lady Margaret's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing slightly as she regarded him. "I suppose you're referring to the incident from years ago?" "If you're willing to share, I'm certainly willing to listen," Sterling replied, his voice low and encouraging. Lady Margaret sighed, a sound heavy with the weight of the past. "It was a scandal, to be sure, a romance that should never have been, and a disappearance that was, conveniently forgotten." Sterling leaned in slightly, his interest piqued. "A disappearance? That sounds intriguing." "Intriguing, yes, but also tragic. It was my daughter's doing, you see. She fell in love with someone entirely unsuitable, and when things went awry, the young man vanished. The family decided it was best to keep things quiet, to preserve our reputation. And yet, here we are, years later, with the past casting its shadow over the present," Sterling observed, his mind racing with possibilities. Lady Margaret nodded, her demeanor softening. "The past never truly leaves us, Detective. It lingers, influencing our actions in ways we might not even realize." As they spoke, Sterling could feel the pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to align. The scandal, long buried, was not merely a relic of history, but a living force, intertwined with the events of the evening. It was a revelation that added depth to the mystery he was unraveling, suggesting motives and connections that had previously eluded him. "Thank you, Lady Margaret," Sterling said, his voice sincere. "You've given me much to consider." "Be careful, Detective," she warned, her tone suddenly grave. "In this world, the truth is often more dangerous than the lies." With that, she turned and rejoined the throng of guests, leaving Sterling to ponder the implications of what he had learned. The scandal was a thread that wove through the lives of the gala attendees, a thread that, if pulled, might unravel the entire fabric of their carefully constructed reality. As the evening wore on, Sterling continued to observe, his mind working tirelessly to connect the dots. The murder that had occurred was no random act. It was a calculated move, deeply rooted in the past scandal that now loomed large in his investigation. He realized that to solve this case, he would need to delve deeper, to confront the ghosts of the past and expose the truths that others had fought to keep hidden. The challenge before him was formidable, yet Sterling felt a renewed sense of purpose. The revelation of the scandal had shifted the landscape of his investigation, introducing new suspects and complicating the web of deceit that surrounded the Harrington Gala. It was a turning point, one that required him to reconsider everything he thought he knew about the people involved. Reflecting on the evening's events, Sterling understood that the scandal was not just a backdrop to the murder, but a central piece of the puzzle. It was a motive, a catalyst, and perhaps even a justification for the actions that had led to the tragic events of the night. With this realization, Sterling prepared himself for the next phase of his investigation. He would need to confront the key players, to challenge their narratives and uncover the truth that lay beneath their polished exteriors. The stage was set for a confrontation, a reckoning that would reveal the intricate dance of deception that bound them all. As the guests slowly departed, the grand ballroom began to empty, leaving behind only the echoes of laughter and the lingering scent of champagne. Sterling remained, his mind already working through the next steps of his plan. The past scandal had opened a door, and now it was up to him to walk through it, to untangle the threads of past and present and bring the truth to light. A past scandal was indeed a pivotal moment in the narrative, one that deepened the mystery and enriched the character development. It was a revelation that challenged Sterling and propelled the story forward, providing readers with a gasp-worthy twist that left them eager for more. The Harrington Gala was a spectacle of opulence and elegance, a shimmering event where the elite gathered under the guise of philanthropy and networking. Yet beneath the glittering surface, a web of deceit lay hidden, waiting to ensnare the unsuspecting. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, renowned for his keen observation and unparalleled deductive skills, stood amidst this grandeur, his presence a silent testament to the undercurrents of unease that rippled beneath the surface. As the evening unfolded, Sterling found himself reflecting on the subtle yet significant interactions he had observed throughout the gala. The air was thick with anticipation, and the grand ballroom, with its crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, became a stage for a deadly game, a game where the players were unaware of their roles. Sterling's intuition told him that these interactions were not mere social pleasantries, but part of a larger scheme designed to conceal the truth. With each passing hour, the detective's focus sharpened on a particular group of guests whose behavior seemed synchronized in a way that suggested a premeditated plan. They moved through the crowd with a grace that belied their intentions, exchanging furtive nods and cryptic remarks. Sterling's keen eye caught a moment of tension between two guests, their shared secret evident in their strained expressions. This interaction became a critical clue that propelled Sterling's investigation forward. In a daring move, Sterling approached one of the guests, a seemingly minor character who had been hovering on the periphery of the main suspects. Through a carefully crafted conversation, Sterling managed to extract a piece of information that shed light on a past scandal involving the Harringtons. This revelation hinted at motives that went beyond personal vendettas, suggesting a broader conspiracy. The guest, caught off guard by Sterling's probing questions, revealed a connection to a past business deal gone awry, a deal that had left several powerful individuals with a grudge against the Harringtons. The subchapter reached a crescendo as Sterling began to connect the dots, mapping out the relationships and alliances that had formed among the attendees. Each revelation added another layer to the complex web of deceit, challenging Sterling's assumptions and forcing him to reconsider his strategies. The atmosphere was tense, with Sterling feeling the pressure of time and the weight of the secrets he must uncover. The important thing to remember, Sterling realized, was that the truth was often hidden in the patterns of behavior, the subtle cues that others overlooked. In a climactic scene, Sterling confronted a key player in the conspiracy, a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information through a slip of the tongue. This moment was a turning point, as Sterling realized the full extent of the behavioral pattern used as a concealment mechanism. The pattern was not just a series of random actions, but a calculated strategy to mislead and manipulate. The guest, a prominent businessman with ties to the Harringtons, let slip a detail about a meeting that had taken place in secret, a meeting that had set the stage for the evening's events. As the subchapter concluded, Sterling was left with a clearer picture of the deception at play, but he knew there was still much to uncover. The web of deceit had been partially exposed, but its full unraveling lay ahead. The emotional journey for Sterling was one of determination and resilience as he pushed forward in his quest for the truth, knowing that each step brought him closer to solving the mystery. The key to understanding, Sterling mused, was to look beyond the obvious and see the connections that others missed. With this in mind, Sterling continued his investigation, piecing together the clues and following the trail of deception that wound through the gala. He knew that the pattern of behavior he had identified was the key to unlocking the mystery, a pattern that preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. As he delved deeper into the intricacies of the conspiracy, Sterling found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that resided within the human soul. Consider this scenario: a seemingly innocuous conversation between two guests, one a close friend of the Harringtons and the other a rival businessman. To the untrained eye, their exchange appeared cordial, even friendly. But to Sterling, the tension in their body language, the way their eyes flickered with hidden meaning, spoke volumes. It was a dance of deception, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to conceal the truth. The important thing to remember, Sterling reflected, was that the truth was often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with the insight to see it. As the investigation unfolded, secrets long buried began to surface, alliances were tested, and the true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare. In a world where appearances were everything and deception was an art form, Detective Sterling had to navigate a labyrinth of lies to uncover the truth. The pattern of behavior, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering, was his only clue. It was a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction, exploiting the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of those involved. In the days that followed, Sterling's investigation took him deeper into the lives of the gala attendees, uncovering hidden relationships and alliances that had been carefully concealed. He discovered a network of connections that spanned not only the Harringtons' social circle, but also the broader world of business and politics. Each new revelation added another piece to the puzzle, bringing Sterling closer to the truth. One by one, the players in the conspiracy were revealed, their roles in the grand deception laid bare. Sterling's meticulous analysis of the behavioral patterns he had observed allowed him to identify the key players and unravel their motives. The pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism was fully exposed, revealing the intricate dance of deception that had ensnared the guests in its web. The confrontation that followed was intense, with Sterling gathering the suspects and presenting his findings. Tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed. The Harringtons' facade crumbled, exposing their role in the cover-up and the lengths they had gone to protect their secrets. The important thing to remember, Sterling concluded, was that the truth would always come to light, no matter how deeply it was buried. In the aftermath, the murderer was apprehended and justice was served. Sterling reflected on the case, understanding the depths of human deception and the lengths to which people would go to protect their secrets. The Harrington estate returned to normal, but the scars of the night's events lingered, a reminder of the darkness that lay beneath the surface of society's glittering facade. The pattern no one questioned, a golden age detective mystery, invites readers into a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. As the narrative weaves through the intricate dance of deception, readers will find themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that resides within the human soul. Sterling's journey through the web of deceit is a testament to the power of observation and the relentless pursuit of truth, a journey that challenges readers to look beyond the surface and see the hidden patterns that shape our world. Chapter 6, The Pattern Exposed. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a symphony of opulence, where crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the elegantly dressed guests. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, with his discerning gaze, moved through the crowd like a shadow, piecing together the puzzle that had eluded everyone else. The pattern was there, hidden in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of the evening's events. As the orchestra played a haunting melody, Sterling's attention was drawn to a heated exchange between two guests at the edge of the room. Their words, though hushed, were laced with urgency, a critical clue in the web of deceit. It was a fleeting moment, but one that Sterling captured with the precision of a master detective. Confronting one of the guests, Sterling's questions were met with a slip of the tongue, a revelation that confirmed his suspicions. The pattern of behavior, a mechanism for murder, was fully exposed. Each guest, each movement, had been orchestrated like pieces on a chessboard, all leading to this moment of truth. Sterling's revelation shattered the evening's facade, turning the gala's social order on its head. The guests, once oblivious to the danger in their midst, now faced the stark reality of the conspiracy that had unfolded. In this world of appearances, Sterling's relentless pursuit of the truth was the deciding factor in unraveling the mystery. The benefits of Sterling's keen insights were clear. A deadly pattern had been exposed, and justice was within reach. As the night wore on, the Harrington estate, with its secrets laid bare, would never be the same again. The Harrington Gala, with its glittering chandeliers and the soft murmur of polite conversation, had always been an epitome of elegance. Yet, as Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood amidst the crowd, his senses were attuned to the undercurrents of unease swirling beneath the polished veneer. The grand ballroom, a majestic expanse of opulence, was more than just a gathering of society's elite. It was a stage set for intrigue, where the players were unwitting participants in a deadly game. Imagine you're in a room filled with laughter and the clink of crystal glasses. The air is perfumed with the scent of expensive cologne and the floral arrangements that adorn every corner. Yet beneath this facade, a pattern begins to form. A pattern that few would notice, but one that holds the key to unraveling a sinister plot. Detective Sterling, renowned for his sharp mind and keen observation, was here not just as a guest, but as an investigator. His eyes flickered over the crowd, noting the subtle tensions, the whispered conversations that ceased as he approached, and the fleeting glances exchanged between guests. It was during one such moment, as the orchestra played a haunting waltz, that Sterling caught the first glimpse of the pattern, a behavioral dance that masked a deadly intent. As the evening unfolded, Sterling's suspicions were piqued by a cryptic exchange between two guests near the ornate fireplace. Their words were innocuous enough, yet laden with an undercurrent that spoke of secrets and alliances. More often than not, it is these seemingly trivial interactions that hold the most significance. A fact Sterling knew all too well from years of unraveling the most intricate of mysteries. A key factor in any investigation is the ability to connect the dots, to see beyond the obvious and piece together the disparate clues that others overlook. Sterling's mind worked like a well-oiled machine, cataloging every detail, every nuance of behavior that deviated from the norm. He observed a sudden shift in the demeanor of Lady Evelyn, a prominent socialite known for her unflappable composure. Her eyes, usually so serene, darted nervously towards the entrance of the ballroom, as if expecting, or fearing, someone's arrival. This leads us to the core of the chapter, understanding the behavioral pattern that served as a concealment mechanism for murder. In the controlled environment of the gala, where appearances were everything, the pattern thrived on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. Sterling knew that to unravel this web of deceit, he had to delve deeper, to see beyond the superficial interactions and uncover the true motives that lay beneath. Imagine you're Detective Sterling, standing amidst the crowd, your senses heightened, your mind racing to piece together the puzzle. Each guest is a potential suspect, each interaction a potential clue. The challenge lies in discerning the genuine from the fabricated, the truth from the carefully constructed lies. The murder, when it finally occurred, was as shocking as it was inevitable. The victim, a man whose influence extended far beyond the confines of the gala, was found dead in the library, his demise shrouded in mystery and deceit. The initial chaos was quickly subdued, the Harringtons deftly restoring order, their composed demeanor belying the gravity of the situation. Yet, within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed, one that sought to conceal the truth behind a facade of normalcy. For Sterling, the investigation was both a challenge and an opportunity. He began his inquiries with a series of discreet conversations, each carefully crafted to elicit information without arousing suspicion. He questioned guests and staff, noting the evasive answers and the subtle resistance he encountered. It was clear that the pattern of behavior he had observed was not just a coincidence. It was a deliberate mechanism designed to obscure the truth. As the investigation progressed, Sterling's persistence paid off. He uncovered hidden relationships and alliances among the gala attendees, each revelation adding a new layer to the intricate tapestry of deceit. A past scandal involving the Harringtons, long buried but never forgotten, emerged as a potential motive, its shadow looming large over the evening's events. More often than not, the most effective way to uncover a conspiracy is to connect the dots, to identify the key players and understand their roles within the larger scheme. Sterling's methodical approach, combined with his unerring intuition, allowed him to do just that. He identified a pattern of behavior that, when fully exposed, revealed a web of deceit that had ensnared the entire gathering. One of the most telling moments came when Sterling confronted a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information. In the heat of the moment, the guest let slip a detail that connected the disparate pieces of the puzzle, allowing Sterling to see the full picture. It was a breakthrough that not only exposed the pattern of behavior used as a murder mechanism, but also laid bare the true nature of the Harrington Gala. The final confrontation was a masterclass in deduction and strategy. Sterling gathered the suspects, presenting his findings with the calm authority of a man who knew he held the upper hand. Tensions rose as accusations flew, the carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of the truth. The true murderer, exposed and cornered, had no choice but to confess, the pattern of deception finally unraveling before the gathered assembly. With the murderer apprehended and justice served, Sterling took a moment to reflect on the case. The Harrington estate, once a symbol of elegance and sophistication, now bore the scars of the night's events. Yet, amidst the chaos and deception, there was a sense of resolution, a recognition of the depths of human deception and the lengths to which people would go to protect their secrets. In the end, the Harrington Gala returned to normal, the glittering chandeliers and polished floors a testament to the resilience of appearances. But for Detective Sterling, the case was a reminder of the power of observation and the importance of connecting the dots. In a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight, the ability to see beyond the surface is both a gift and a necessity. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood silently in the grand ballroom of the Harrington estate, a place where opulence and intrigue danced hand in hand. The room, once alive with the laughter and music of high society, now felt like a vast theater of shadows. Sterling was a man on the brink of discovery, poised at the edge of a precipice, both literal and metaphorical. His mind was a whirl of fragmented conversations, fleeting glances, and subtle gestures, each a piece of a disturbing tapestry he was determined to unravel. As the evening wore on, Sterling retreated to the library, a quieter sanctuary within the mansion. The room was dimly lit, filled with the comforting scent of old leather and the promise of secrets hidden within its walls. Here, amidst the hushed tones of history, Sterling found a moment of clarity. He sifted through his notes, mentally organizing the information gathered throughout the night. The library served as both a metaphorical and literal refuge, offering a reprieve from the chaos of the gala. It was in this tranquil setting that Sterling experienced a sudden epiphany. The seemingly innocuous actions of the guests, a shared glance, a too casual laugh, a misplaced object, suddenly converged into a singular, sinister pattern. This revelation struck Sterling with the force of a thunderbolt, as he realized the murder was not a spontaneous act, but a meticulously planned event, hidden in plain sight amidst the gala's grandeur. The narrative tension escalated as Sterling decided to confront Lady Eleanor, a guest whose demeanor had been consistently evasive throughout the evening. Their conversation began with the usual pleasantries, but quickly turned into a verbal chess match. Sterling's probing questions and keen observations cornered Eleanor into revealing a critical piece of information inadvertently. Her slip confirmed a network of complicity among the guests, pointing directly to the mechanism of concealment used to orchestrate the murder. This subchapter is a pivotal moment in Sterling's investigation. The revelation of the behavioral pattern not only propels the plot forward, but also deepens the thematic exploration of deception and the facades maintained by the upper echelons of society. Sterling's character is further developed through his relentless pursuit of truth, showcasing his analytical prowess and moral fortitude. The emotional journey of this subchapter is intense, as Sterling grapples with the weight of his discovery and the implications it holds for the gala's social order. The reader is drawn into Sterling's internal conflict, feeling the tension between duty and the personal cost of uncovering such a web of deceit. As Sterling emerged from the library, his resolve was strengthened. The stage was set for the final confrontation, as Sterling prepared to expose the conspiracy to the gathered guests. The transition to the next subchapter was seamless, with the narrative momentum carrying the reader towards the impending climax, where truth and justice would collide head-on. In the dim light of the library, Sterling reflected on the evening's events. The Harrington Gala, a glittering affair that drew the crème de la crème of society, had been a controlled gathering, meticulously orchestrated by its hosts. Yet, beneath the veneer of elegance and sophistication, a sinister pattern had unfolded, a pattern no one had questioned until it was too late. Detective Sterling, renowned for his keen observation and unparalleled deductive skills, found himself amidst the glittering throng, his presence a silent testament to the undercurrents of unease that rippled beneath the surface. The gala was a controlled gathering, meticulously orchestrated by its hosts, the Harringtons, a family whose influence and wealth were rivaled only by their penchant for secrecy. As the evening progressed, the guests indulged in champagne and laughter, oblivious to the shadow of danger lurking in their midst. The grand ballroom, with its crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, became a stage for a deadly game, a game where the players were unaware of their roles. It was during the crescendo of the evening, as the orchestra played a haunting waltz, that the first signs of the pattern emerged. A whispered conversation overheard by the observant Detective Sterling, a subtle shift in the demeanor of a guest, a fleeting glance exchanged between two seemingly unrelated individuals, each a piece of a puzzle that was yet to reveal its dark picture. The murder, when it occurred, was as shocking as it was inevitable. A prominent guest, a man whose influence extended far beyond the confines of the gala, was found dead, his demise cloaked in mystery and deceit. The initial chaos was quickly subdued, the guests ushered into an adjacent room under the guise of maintaining decorum. Yet, within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed, one that sought to conceal the truth behind a facade of normalcy. Detective Sterling, with his astute mind and unerring intuition, began to unravel the threads of the conspiracy. The behavioral pattern, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering, was his only clue. It was a pattern that preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it, a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. As the investigation unfolded, secrets long buried began to surface, alliances were tested, and the true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare. In a world where appearances were everything, and deception was an art form, Detective Sterling had to navigate a labyrinth of lies to uncover the truth. The pattern no one questioned, a golden age detective mystery, invites mystery and thriller fans into a world where nothing is as it seems, and the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight. As the narrative weaves through the intricate dance of deception, readers will find themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that resides within the human soul. In the aftermath of the revelation, Sterling's mind was a tempest of thoughts and emotions. He knew that the path ahead was fraught with danger, but he was undeterred. The truth was within his grasp, and he would not rest until justice was served. The library, once a place of solace, now felt charged with a sense of purpose. Sterling's resolve was unshakable, his determination to uncover the truth unwavering. He knew that the final confrontation would be a test of his skills and courage, but he was ready. As he prepared to face the gathered guests, Sterling reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. The Harrington Gala, a night of glamour and intrigue, had revealed a world of deception and betrayal. Yet, amidst the darkness, Sterling had found a beacon of truth, a guiding light that would lead him to the heart of the conspiracy. With a deep breath, Sterling stepped out of the library, his mind clear and his purpose resolute. The stage was set for the final act, a confrontation that would lay bare the secrets of the Harrington estate and bring justice to those who had been wronged. As the narrative momentum carried the reader towards the climax, The tension was palpable. The truth, once hidden in the shadows, was now poised to emerge into the light, and Sterling was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the clock struck 8, the Harrington estate shimmered under a blanket of stars, its grandeur illuminated by a cascade of lights that danced across the manicured lawns. Inside, the drawing room was a symphony of laughter and clinking glasses, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and anticipation. Guests, draped in their finest attire, moved like pieces on a chessboard, each step calculated, each smile a carefully curated performance. It was a night where appearances were everything, yet beneath the polished veneer, a deadly mechanism was quietly ticking away. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, standing at the edge of the room, was a man apart. His presence, understated yet commanding, was a silent acknowledgment of the undercurrents that churned beneath the evening's festivities. Sterling was no stranger to the opulence of society's upper echelons, yet he understood that the true game was often played in the shadows. Tonight, he was not merely a guest, but a silent observer, attuned to the subtleties that others might overlook. The evening unfolded with a practiced elegance. The orchestra played a repertoire of classics, each note weaving through the conversations that ebbed and flowed like the tide. Sterling, with his keen eye, noted the nuances. A whispered conversation between two guests, the fleeting glance of a woman who seemed too eager to look away, the subtle tension in a man's posture as he scanned the room. Each observation was a thread, and Sterling was adept at weaving them into a tapestry of meaning. As the orchestra transitioned into a haunting waltz, the room seemed to shift, the atmosphere taking on a new intensity. It was in this moment, amidst the swirl of silk and the shimmer of diamonds, that the first signs of the pattern emerged. A prominent guest, known for his influence and connections, was found dead, his demise as shocking as it was inevitable. The initial chaos was quickly subdued, the guests ushered into an adjacent room under the guise of maintaining decorum. Yet Sterling knew that what lay beneath was a carefully constructed facade, a mechanism designed to conceal the truth. With the room now a stage for suspicion and speculation, Sterling began his investigation. His approach was methodical, each question a probe into the fabric of deceit that cloaked the evening. He moved through the guests with a practiced ease, his inquiries subtle yet incisive. He encountered resistance, evasive answers that only served to strengthen his resolve. The pattern, he realized, was not merely one of behavior but of intent, a mechanism that thrived on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it. Consider this scenario. A guest, seemingly benign in his demeanor, became Sterling's focal point. His interactions were unremarkable, yet there was something in the way he lingered at the edges of conversations, the way his eyes darted around the room as if cataloging each detail. Sterling engaged him in conversation, his questions innocuous yet probing, and it was in the man's responses that Sterling found the first tangible link in the chain of deceit. What's crucial here is understanding the psychology at play. The Harrington Gala, with its allure of exclusivity and prestige, was the perfect setting for a mechanism of murder. The guests, each one a player in this deadly game, were bound by the unspoken rules of society, rules that dictated behavior, that masked intentions under layers of civility. It was a pattern that exploited these conventions, using them as a cloak to hide the sinister truth. Sterling's investigation revealed a web of hidden relationships and alliances, each thread leading back to the Harringtons. A past scandal, long buried beneath the weight of time and influence, began to surface, its implications casting a long shadow over the evening's events. The pattern of concealment became clearer, revealing a conspiracy that was as complex as it was dangerous. The next step involved confronting the key players. Sterling, with his characteristic blend of tact and tenacity, gathered the suspects. The room, once filled with laughter and music, now echoed with tension. As Sterling laid out his findings, the pattern emerged in stark relief, a mechanism of murder that had been hiding in plain sight. Accusations flew, and as the facade crumbled, the true murderer was revealed, their role in the evening's deception laid bare. In practice, the mechanism of murder at the Harrington Gala was a testament to the power of perception and the art of deception. It was a reminder that in a world where appearances are everything, the most dangerous secrets are often those that hide behind the most convincing smiles. Sterling's success lay not just in his ability to see beyond the surface, but in his understanding of the human psyche, his ability to navigate the labyrinth of lies with insight and precision. As the night drew to a close, the murderer apprehended and justice served, Sterling reflected on the case. The Harrington estate, once a symbol of opulence and power, now stood as a reminder of the night's events, its grandeur overshadowed by the darkness that had been revealed. The scars of the evening, though invisible, lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed the unraveling of the pattern no one questioned. For Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, the resolution of the case was more than a professional triumph. It was a testament to the enduring complexity of human nature. In a world where deception is an art form and trust is a fragile commodity, the true challenge lies in seeing beyond the mask to the truth that lies beneath. As the guests departed, their laughter now tinged with a new understanding, Sterling knew that the lessons of the Harrington Gala would echo long after the music had faded. Chapter 7, The Confrontation. The grand drawing room of the Harrington estate was a theater of tension, its opulent decor now a backdrop to the unfolding drama. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, with a commanding presence, stood at the center, surrounded by a circle of suspects whose expressions ranged from defiant to fearful. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation as Sterling began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice cutting through the silence, "we are here to uncover the truth behind the tragic events of this evening." He paused, allowing his words to settle. "What we have witnessed is not merely a crime of passion, but a meticulously crafted deception." Sterling methodically presented his findings, each revelation a blow to the carefully maintained facade of innocence. He described the behavioral pattern that had masked the murder, a pattern so insidious that it had exploited the natural assumptions of every guest present. As he spoke, the room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in on the guilty parties, accusations flew, voices rising in a cacophony of denial and outrage. Yet Sterling remained unflappable, his deductions as precise as the cut of his tailored suit. "The truth," he declared, "lies in the details we overlook, the patterns we fail to question." In a stunning twist, Sterling revealed the murderer, a revelation that shattered the Harringtons' carefully constructed world. Their role in the cover-up was laid bare, the lengths they had gone to protect their secrets now exposed. As the confrontation reached its climax, justice was not just served, it was demanded. The truth, at last, had come to light, leaving the Harrington estate forever changed. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a spectacle of opulence, a shimmering sea of silk and satin under the glow of crystal chandeliers. As the orchestra played a lively tune, Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the edge of the room, his sharp eyes scanning the crowd. The Harrington Gala was in full swing, a night where the elite mingled under the guise of charity. Yet Sterling knew all too well that the evening's true purpose lay hidden beneath layers of social niceties. As he observed the guests, Sterling's attention was drawn to the subtle dynamics at play. The Harringtons, renowned for their influence and enigmatic charm, navigated the room with a practiced ease that belied the tension simmering beneath the surface. The air was thick with anticipation, a silent testament to the undercurrents of unease that Sterling had come to recognize in his many years of service. It was during a moment of quiet observation that Sterling's instincts were first piqued. A whispered conversation caught his ear, a hushed exchange between two guests who stood apart from the crowd, their expressions a study in guarded secrecy. The words were indistinct, yet the tone was unmistakable, a murmur of conspiracy that set the detective's mind racing. As the evening unfolded, Sterling noted a change in the demeanor of several guests. A well-known socialite, usually the life of the party, seemed unusually subdued, her laughter forced and her eyes darting nervously across the room. Another guest, a business mogul with ties to the Harringtons, appeared distracted, his gaze lingering on the door as if expecting someone, or something. These observations were not mere coincidences. They were pieces of a puzzle that Sterling was determined to solve. The detective's intuition told him that a pattern was emerging, a behavioral mechanism designed to conceal something far more sinister than mere social indiscretions. The crescendo of the evening came as the orchestra began a haunting waltz, the melody weaving through the room with an eerie elegance. It was then that the first signs of the pattern became apparent. Sterling watched as a fleeting glance was exchanged between two seemingly unrelated individuals, a glance that spoke volumes in its brevity. It was a signal, a silent communication that hinted at a deeper connection. Then, as the final notes of the waltz lingered in the air, a scream shattered the night. The crowd turned as one, eyes drawn to the source of the commotion. A man lay motionless on the floor, his face a mask of shock and pain. It was a prominent guest, a figure whose influence extended far beyond the confines of the gala. His death was as shocking as it was inevitable. A calculated move in a deadly game that none had anticipated. The initial chaos was swiftly subdued by the Harringtons, their calm demeanor a stark contrast to the panic that threatened to engulf the room. Guests were ushered into an adjacent room, their whispers and speculations a low hum beneath the veneer of decorum that the family sought to maintain. Yet within the confines of the estate, a more insidious order prevailed, one that sought to conceal the truth behind a facade of normalcy. Sterling, with his astute mind and unerring intuition, began to unravel the threads of the conspiracy. The behavioral pattern, a mechanism of concealment so cleverly woven into the fabric of the gathering, was his only clue. It was a pattern that preyed on the assumptions and blind spots of those ensnared within it, a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction. As he discreetly questioned guests and staff, Sterling encountered resistance and evasive answers. The Harringtons, with their practiced charm, deflected his inquiries with ease, yet their carefully constructed facade was beginning to show cracks. Secrets long buried began to surface, alliances were tested, and the true nature of the Harrington Gala was laid bare. Through careful observation and keen deduction, Sterling began to piece together the puzzle. He uncovered hidden relationships and alliances within the gala attendees, each one a thread in the intricate web of deceit that had been spun. A past scandal involving the Harringtons emerged, a scandal that could be linked to the murder, a motive that had been hidden in plain sight. The pattern of concealment became clearer with each revelation, revealing a web of deceit that was as intricate as it was deadly. Sterling's investigation led him to confront a guest who inadvertently revealed crucial information, a slip of the tongue that confirmed his suspicions and exposed the heart of the conspiracy. With the pieces in place, Sterling gathered the suspects in the grand drawing room, the air heavy with tension and anticipation. As he presented his findings, the room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a specter. Tensions rose as accusations flew, and the true murderer was revealed. A figure whose role in the conspiracy had been hidden by the very pattern Sterling had uncovered. The Harringtons' facade crumbled under the weight of their secrets, their role in the cover-up laid bare for all to see. As the murderer was apprehended and justice served, the Harrington estate returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet the scars of the night's events lingered, a reminder of the darkness that resides within the human soul. In the aftermath, Sterling reflected on the case, his mind turning over the lessons learned and the truths uncovered. The pattern, once a mechanism of concealment, had become a tool of revelation, a means by which the detective had navigated the labyrinth of lies to uncover the truth. In a world where appearances were everything, and deception was an art form, Sterling had proven once again that the most dangerous secrets are often hidden in plain sight. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a symphony of opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over the guests, their reflections dancing across the polished marble floor. Yet beneath the veneer of elegance, a palpable tension simmered. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, known for his razor-sharp intuition and calm demeanor, stood at the room's center, his presence commanding the attention of all assembled. It was here, amidst the whispers and the clinking of glasses, that the truth would finally come to light. Sterling's voice, steady and resonant, sliced through the murmurs. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Tonight, we shall unravel the mystery that has cast its shadow over this esteemed gathering." His words, delivered with calm authority, silenced the room. The guests, a mix of high society figures and those with secrets to hide, turned their attention to the detective, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and dread. The evening had started as a celebration, a gala of philanthropy and networking. Yet, as Sterling recounted the events, the night transformed from one of revelry to one of tragedy. He painted a vivid picture of the gala's progression, each detail meticulously laid out. The guests listened intently, some with fear etched on their faces, others with defiance, and a few with genuine curiosity. With methodical precision, Sterling began to dismantle the alibis and facades that had been constructed with such care. It was a night meant for celebration, he continued, but beneath the laughter and the music, a darker pattern was at play. He highlighted the subtle, telling cues he had observed. A nervous twitch here, a too casual remark there, a lingering glance that spoke volumes. Each piece of evidence was a thread in a tapestry of deceit, and Sterling wove them together with masterful skill. The emotional stakes rose as Sterling shifted his focus to the key players in the conspiracy. Addressing each suspect directly, his words carried the weight of undeniable truth. Accusations flew, the room buzzing with tension as Sterling's revelations were punctuated by gasps and denials. The guests grappled with the implications of his deductions, the air thick with suspense. In a dramatic twist, Sterling revealed the identity of the murderer, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the room. The accused, caught off guard, attempted to maintain their composure, but the cracks in their demeanor were unmistakable. Sterling's unyielding gaze never wavered as he laid bare the motive and method behind the murder, linking it seamlessly to the behavioral pattern he had exposed. The Harringtons, who had maintained an air of aloofness throughout the investigation, found their carefully constructed facade crumbling. Sterling's revelations exposed their complicity in the cover-up and the lengths they had gone to protect their family's reputation. The emotional climax of the story unfolded as the Harringtons confronted their own culpability, their secrets laid bare for all to see. As the subchapter drew to a close, Sterling's unwavering dedication to justice shone through. The true murderer was apprehended, and the guests, now witnesses to the unraveling of a sinister plot, began to process the night's events. Sterling's reflections on the case provided a poignant reminder of the depths of human deception and the resilience of truth. This subchapter served as a bridge to the final resolution, setting the stage for the aftermath of the confrontation and the restoration of order in the Harrington estate. The emotional journey and key revelations ensured that readers were left breathless, eager to see how the story concluded. One thing that becomes clear in moments like these is the profound impact of revelation. The truth, once hidden, now stood bare, its light piercing through the shadows of deceit. Beyond the immediate shock and the unraveling of lies, there was a deeper lesson to be learned. In the world of high society, where appearances were everything, the most dangerous secrets were often hidden in plain sight. Sterling's approach to solving the mystery was not just about the evidence he gathered, but about understanding the human condition. You can see this in the way he pieced together behavioral cues, each one a glimpse into the psyche of those involved. The critical element was his ability to read between the lines, to see what others missed, and to connect the dots in a way that revealed the bigger picture. Typically, such revelations come with a mix of emotions. Relief, for the truth is finally out, fear, for the consequences it brings, and introspection, as those involved must confront their own roles in the deception. This delivers solid results in terms of narrative tension and emotional engagement, drawing readers deeper into the story. The Harrington estate, once a bastion of secrecy and control, now stood as a testament to the power of truth. The guests, having witnessed the unraveling of a sinister plot, were left to ponder the events of the night. For some, it was a lesson in humility. For others, a reminder of the fragility of their carefully curated lives. As Sterling reflected on the case, he understood the depths of human deception and the resilience of truth. In a world where nothing was as it seemed, and the most dangerous secrets were hidden in plain sight, his role as a detective was not just to uncover the truth, but to restore a sense of order and justice. The Harrington estate returned to normal in the days that followed. but the scars of the night's events lingered. The guests, having been part of a story that would be told for years to come, carried with them the lessons learned and the truths revealed. And as for Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, his work was far from over. In a world filled with deception and intrigue, there would always be another mystery to solve, another truth to uncover. In conclusion, Accusations and Revelations was not just a chapter in a story, but a journey through the complexities of human nature. It was a reminder that, in the end, the truth has a way of coming to light, no matter how deeply it is buried. And for those who seek it, like Detective Sterling, the pursuit of truth is a calling, a dedication to justice that never wavers. The grand drawing room of the Harrington estate was a spectacle of opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the polished mahogany floors, and the walls were adorned with portraits of stern ancestors who seemed to watch over the proceedings with silent judgment. Yet, despite the grandeur, a palpable tension hovered in the air, as if the very fabric of the room strained under the weight of unspoken truths. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood at the center of this gilded arena, a solitary figure amidst the semicircle of guests who were now suspects. His presence was commanding, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the storm of emotions swirling around him. The guests watched him with a mix of fear, defiance, and curiosity, their expressions betraying the turmoil within. Sterling began his address with a measured voice, recounting the events of the gala with precision. Each word was deliberate, each pause calculated to let the implications sink in. As he spoke, he painted a picture of the evening, a tapestry woven with seemingly innocuous gestures and interactions that, in hindsight, were anything but random. The guests exchanged nervous glances, their discomfort growing as Sterling methodically dismantled the facade they had so carefully constructed. His observations were meticulous, his deductions unerring. He highlighted a behavioral pattern that had served as a veil for the murder, a pattern that thrived on the very nature of human interaction and exploitation of social norms. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the room. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of fabric or the soft clink of a glass being set down. Then, with a quiet intensity, Sterling unveiled the first revelation. The gestures and interactions that, though seemingly benign, were part of a deliberate orchestration to mislead and manipulate. "Consider the conversation between Mr. Blackwood and Lady Harrington," he began, his gaze sweeping over the assembled guests. A casual exchange, perhaps, but one that diverted attention at a crucial moment. He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. Or the way Miss Elmsley's laughter drew eyes away from the terrace just as the clock struck midnight. The room erupted in murmurs, but Sterling's authoritative presence quickly restored order. He turned his attention to the Harringtons, whose carefully curated image began to fracture under scrutiny. There were clandestine meetings, he continued, whispered conversations that suggest a deeper involvement in the cover-up than initially apparent. The Harringtons exchanged a glance, their expressions shifting from indignation to desperation. The guests were drawn into the narrative, some nodding in reluctant agreement, others protesting their innocence with increasing fervor. Yet, as Sterling continued, the hidden alliances and motivations that fueled the conspiracy came to light, each revelation a blow to the Harringtons' facade. "A letter, intercepted by chance," Sterling said, producing a folded piece of paper, "a photograph taken in secrecy." He held up a small, unassuming piece of jewelry. "And this, a token of affection, or perhaps a symbol of something more sinister." The room fell silent, the air heavy with anticipation. The true murderer, a figure once dismissed as unassuming, was revealed in a shocking twist that left the guests reeling. The revelation was a masterstroke, a culmination of Sterling's relentless pursuit of the truth. In the aftermath, the Harringtons' involvement in the cover-up was undeniable. Their carefully constructed world crumbled, exposing the lengths they went to protect their secrets. The emotional impact was profound, as the guests grappled with the realization that the people they thought they knew were capable of such deception. Sterling's confrontation was both a triumph and a tragedy. Justice was served, but it came at the cost of shattered relationships and broken trust. As the guests began to disperse, their faces etched with the night's revelations, Sterling stood alone, reflecting on the case. The truth had come to light, yet the scars of the night's events would linger long after the guests had departed. The Harrington estate, once a symbol of prestige and power, was now a testament to the darkness that lay beneath the surface. As the chapter concluded, Sterling knew that the resolution of the case was only the beginning. The consequences of the night's revelations would continue to unfold, leaving an indelible mark on all who were present. And as he left the estate, the weight of the truth settled over him, a reminder of the complexities of human nature and the shadows that lurked within. Chapter 8 Resolution. The grand Harrington estate, now quiet after the tumultuous events of the gala, stood as a testament to the fragile veneer of high society. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling, having unraveled the intricate web of deception, found himself contemplating the case's resolution. The murderer was apprehended, yet the echoes of deceit lingered in the opulent halls. Sterling's mind wandered back to the moment when he first noticed the subtle signs. A whispered conversation, a suspicious glance. These seemingly innocuous details had led him to uncover the truth behind the facade. More often than not, it was the smallest clues that revealed the darkest secrets. This case, with its elaborate pattern of concealment, had taught him that human deception could be as intricate as it was insidious. As the Harrington estate returned to a semblance of normalcy, Sterling reflected on the scars left by the night's events. The guests, once oblivious to the danger, now wore the weight of the truth. The cost of uncovering such deception was high, leaving those involved to ponder the nature of truth itself. Sterling knew that while justice had been served, the darkness within the human soul was a labyrinth he would continue to navigate. Think of it this way. Uncovering the truth is like peeling back layers of an onion. Each layer reveals more complexity, more tears. Yet the core, raw and undeniable, remains. This case had deepened Sterling's understanding of the human condition, reminding him that beneath the surface of civility lies a world of shadows waiting to be exposed. The grand ballroom of the Harrington estate was a tableau of opulence, yet beneath its glittering facade lay an air thick with tension. As Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood before the gathered guests, the room seemed to hold its breath. The evening, once a celebration of high society's finest, had transformed into a stage for justice, a justice that Sterling was determined to serve. He began with a calm yet commanding presence, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen," he started, "what you witnessed tonight was not merely an unfortunate event, but the culmination of a carefully orchestrated deception." His eyes scanned the room, noting the mix of fear, shock, and denial etched on the faces before him. As Sterling recounted the evening's events, he wove together the disparate clues: a whispered conversation, a subtle shift in demeanor, a fleeting glance, into a cohesive narrative. Each piece of the puzzle fell into place, revealing a pattern of behavior designed to mislead and distract. The opulent setting of the ballroom, with its crystal chandeliers and velvet drapes, now seemed to mock the gravity of the moment. With every word, the detective dismantled the facade that had shielded the murderer. "The pattern," he continued, "was a mechanism of concealment, preying on our assumptions and blind spots." His explanation was methodical, each point building upon the last, as he exposed hidden alliances and motives that had led to the night's tragic events. The room was silent, save for the occasional gasp as Sterling's revelations pierced through the layers of deceit. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle before delivering the final blow. "The murderer," he declared, "is someone who blended seamlessly into the background, a figure we all overlooked." The accused, once a shadow among the guests, was now thrust into the harsh light of truth, their carefully constructed mask shattered. As the murderer was apprehended, the room erupted into a flurry of emotions: relief, anger, disbelief. The Harrington family, once a symbol of prestige and power, was left to grapple with the repercussions of their involvement in the cover-up. Their carefully maintained facade crumbled under the weight of Sterling's revelations, exposing the cracks that lay beneath. Amidst the turmoil, Sterling took a moment to reflect on the case. He understood the complexity of human nature and the lengths to which people would go to protect their secrets. The evening had been a stark reminder of the murky depths of human behavior, where truth and deception danced a dangerous waltz. As the guests began to disperse, the Harrington estate returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the echoes of the night's events lingered, haunting the halls with whispers of betrayal and deceit. Sterling, having fulfilled his duty, contemplated the cost of uncovering the truth. Justice had been served, but at what price? The detective's thoughts turned to the nature of justice itself. He had seen firsthand the scars left by the night's revelations, scars that would alter the lives of all involved. The truth, while liberating, was also a burden that those left behind would carry with them. As he left the ballroom, Sterling couldn't help but ponder the enduring impact of his work. The Harrington estate, though returning to its former glory, would forever be haunted by the shadows of its past. The night's events had peeled back the layers of deception, revealing the raw, unvarnished truth beneath. Through Sterling's journey, readers are reminded of the fragile nature of trust and the darkness that resides within the human soul. The chapter serves as a poignant exploration of the themes of truth and deception, inviting readers to question the very nature of justice in a world shrouded in mystery and intrigue. In the end, what matters most is the courage to face the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Sterling's unwavering determination to uncover the hidden patterns and motives serves as a testament to the power of justice, a justice that, though served, leaves behind a trail of questions and reflections on the human condition. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling sat alone in the grand library of the Harrington estate, a room that exuded opulence with its towering shelves of leather-bound books and the warm glow of a crackling fireplace. Yet, despite its grandeur, the room felt eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the tumultuous events that had just unfolded. Sterling was deep in thought, his mind a labyrinth of reflections on the deception he had uncovered. Sterling's internal monologue. As he sat in the plush leather chair, Sterling pondered the deceptive nature of appearances. The Harringtons, with their seemingly perfect facade, had masked a web of deceit that ran deep. Each guest at the gala had played a role in the conspiracy, their behaviors once dismissed as harmless eccentricities now revealed as calculated moves in a deadly game. Sterling recalled how the charming smiles and polite gestures were mere veneers, cleverly concealing the treacherous intentions beneath. Emotional journey. The emotional toll of the investigation weighed heavily on Sterling. He remembered the faces of the innocent entangled in the deceit, the fear in their eyes, the palpable relief when justice was finally served. This reflection deepened his resolve to seek the truth, no matter the personal cost. Sterling's pursuit of justice was not merely a professional duty. It was a personal crusade against the darkness that deception could cast over innocent lives. Key revelations revisiting the sequence of events, Sterling realized the subtle clues that had been overlooked, each piece of the puzzle fitting together seamlessly in hindsight. The whispered conversations, the fleeting glances, the sudden shifts in demeanor, each had been a thread in the tapestry of lies. This realization reinforced a key theme of the story, the danger of ignoring the patterns right before one's eyes. In most cases, deception thrived on the complacency of those who failed to question the obvious. Character growth. The investigation had been a crucible for Sterling, refining his understanding of human nature. He had come to recognize that deception was often layered and complex, woven into the very fabric of social interactions. This case had made him more perceptive and empathetic, qualities that would serve him well in future investigations. Sterling's growth as a detective was mirrored by his growth as a person, each revelation a step towards a deeper understanding of the human psyche. Bridge to resolution, Sterling's reflections were interrupted by a gentle knock on the library door. It was his assistant, informing him that the guests had started to leave, the estate slowly returning to its usual grandeur. Sterling took a moment to compose himself, knowing that while the case was closed, the impact of the night's revelations would linger. The library, once a sanctuary of knowledge, had become a witness to the unraveling of a complex tapestry of lies. Conclusion: as Sterling exited the library, he took one last look at the Harrington estate. The grandeur of the building was undiminished, yet he knew that beneath its polished surface lay scars from the night's events. both on the estate and within himself. The subchapter ended with Sterling stepping into the night, his silhouette a symbol of the ongoing battle between truth and deception. The darkness outside was a reminder of the shadows that deception could cast, but Sterling's resolve was a beacon of hope against it. Emotional impact. This subchapter provided a moment of introspection for Sterling, allowing readers to connect with his journey on a deeper level. It emphasized the story's themes and left readers contemplating the nature of truth and the human capacity for deception. The reflections on deception were not just an analysis of the case, but a broader commentary on the human condition, inviting readers to question the patterns in their own lives and the truths they hold dear. In a world where appearances often deceive, Sterling's journey was a testament to the power of observation and the courage to confront the uncomfortable truths that lay beneath the surface. His reflections served as a reminder that while deception might be an art form, the pursuit of truth was an unwavering commitment that required both skill and heart, reflective solitude. Detective Inspector Arthur Sterling stood alone on the balcony of the Harrington estate, the cool morning air brushing against his face. The chaos of the night had finally settled, leaving behind an eerie silence that enveloped the grand mansion. As he gazed out over the sprawling gardens, Sterling found himself lost in thought, reflecting on the intricate web of deception and human nature he had just unraveled. The previous night had been a whirlwind of revelations and confrontations, each more shocking than the last. Yet amidst the turmoil, Sterling had maintained his composure, driven by an unwavering commitment to the truth. Now, in the quiet of the early morning, he allowed himself a moment of introspection, contemplating the personal toll the case had taken on him. The satisfaction of solving the mystery was tempered by a lingering sorrow for the lives disrupted and the innocence lost. Experience indicates that the complexities of human nature are often masked by the facades people present to the world. Sterling had witnessed firsthand how easily these facades could crumble under the weight of truth. The quiet of the morning was a stark contrast to the night's events, symbolizing both resolution and the unease that still lingered within him. It was worth noting that each case left a mark on his soul, a reminder of the darkness that resided within the human heart. Closure with the Harringtons. As the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the estate, Sterling made his way to the drawing room, where the remaining members of the Harrington family awaited him. Their once impenetrable facade had been shattered, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. The air was thick with a mix of gratitude and resentment as they exchanged glances, unsure of how to approach the man who had uncovered their secrets. In a candid conversation, the Harringtons expressed their fears and hopes for the future. Sterling listened intently, offering them advice on rebuilding their lives. Honesty and integrity, he emphasized, are the foundations upon which you must rebuild. Deception may offer temporary relief, but truth is the only path to lasting peace. The Harringtons nodded, their expressions a mixture of relief and uncertainty. Sterling's words resonated with them, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the ruins of their former lives. As he took his leave, he could only hope that they would heed his advice and embrace the truth, allowing it to guide them towards a brighter future. The guests As the morning progressed, the guests began to depart from the estate, each carrying with them the weight of the night's revelations. Sterling observed their varied reactions, noting the subtle differences in their demeanors. Some were eager to distance themselves from the scandal, their hurried footsteps a testament to their desire to forget. Others lingered, their expressions contemplative as they reflected on their own roles in the night's events. Sterling exchanged a few words with key guests, offering them a chance for redemption. "Think of it this way," he advised. "Embracing truth in your lives moving forward can be a powerful act of liberation. It allows you to break free from the chains of deception and live authentically." His words seemed to resonate with some, their eyes lighting up with newfound understanding. For others, the path to redemption would be longer and more arduous, but Sterling's encouragement planted a seed of hope that might one day blossom into change. Personal growth. As the last of the guests departed, Sterling took a moment to reflect on his own journey through the case. He recognized the personal growth he had experienced, a deeper understanding of deception and human nature that would serve him well in future investigations. Each case, he mused, was a lesson in the complexities of the human soul, a puzzle that challenged his instincts and sharpened his skills. Experience indicates that every investigation leaves a mark, shaping the detective who undertakes it. For Sterling, this case had been no different. It had tested his resolve and pushed him to the limits of his capabilities, but it had also reinforced his belief in the power of truth. He resolved to carry these lessons forward, using them to guide him as he navigated the intricate dance of deception and truth in future cases. A new dawn, as the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a golden hue over the estate, Sterling took one last look at the Harrington mansion. The once grand ballroom, now a scene of revelation and justice, stood as a testament to the power of truth. It was a reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath even the most polished surfaces, and the importance of vigilance in the pursuit of justice. Sterling left the estate with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Yet, he was acutely aware of the profound impact this case had had on him. It had been a journey of discovery, not only of the truth behind the murder, but also of his own capabilities and limitations. As he walked away from the estate, he felt a sense of closure, knowing that he had done all he could to bring justice to those affected by the night's events, bridge to future cases. The journey back from the Harrington estate was a contemplative one for Sterling. As the car wound its way through the countryside, he found himself pondering the nature of truth and deception. Each case he encountered was a new chapter in the ongoing quest for understanding, a reminder that human nature was as complex as it was unpredictable. His internal monologue was filled with unresolved questions about the human condition, questions that would no doubt guide him in future investigations. What drives individuals to deceive? How do seemingly innocuous interactions become the seeds of betrayal? These were mysteries that Sterling was determined to explore, knowing that each answer would bring him closer to the truth. As the city skyline came into view, Sterling felt a sense of anticipation for the adventures that awaited him. The world was full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and he was ready to face them with the knowledge and experience he had gained. The case at the Harrington estate had been a defining moment in his career, but it was only the beginning. With each new mystery, Sterling would continue to delve into the depths of human nature, guided by the unwavering belief that truth, no matter how elusive, was always worth pursuing.